right on stage right after them, actually. They put on a good show.
Yeah, it is.
It is 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
9 o'clock, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first on the agenda is to approve the minutes of September 23rd, 2024 as written.
I'll move.
Second.
Moved by Thompson, second by McCurry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I'll abstain.
Oh, we got one abstain. Next is approve the minutes, the continuation meeting for September 26th for checks and vouchers as written.
I'll move.
I'll second. Moved by McCurry, seconded by Knight. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 He was here yet. Motion passes. Oh, next is, miscellaneous, let's see, tax abatement. Move to authorize Jack Chairman to sign one tax abatement in the amount of $17.56.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Moved by Huguenin, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Next is these are all miscellaneous motions, Andy. The vehicle dispersal.
Vehicle disbursement?
Yeah, the vehicle disposal.
Yes.
Move to find 2008 Ford Expedition VIN ending in 9767 is no longer required and cannot prudently be used for public purpose of Coffee County, and as such should be disposed of to the Chamber of Commerce, Burlington, Kansas.
I'll move. I'll second.
Moved by Huguenin, seconded by Meats. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Next, move to find various additional items of property contained on the list dated September 30th are no longer required and cannot prudently be used for public purpose of Coffee County, and as such, the same will be disposed of by public auction. Said auction will occur on October 19th, 2024 at 9 a.m. at the Coffee County Shop at 510 South 6, Burlington, Kansas. The county clerk is authorized to publish the notice of intent to dispose of property in the official county newspaper.
These are additional items,
Yes.
are they? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
That have been added?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Moved by Meats, seconded by McCurry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Move to authorize Jack Chairman to sign Coffee County payroll notice for Levi McStoy. Okay. Jail correction number 1, new hire, wage classification 30-3, wage of $19.87, effective 9/30/2024.
I'll move.
Second.
Moved by Thompson, seconded by Huguenin. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Okay, we'll do our normal Monday morning, River City construction jail update.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are you all?
Good.
I think it's gonna warm up on us again, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Losing that nice cool weather.
Yep, thank you.
I was liking the 70s, maybe.
Can't complain
They're
about it.
still coming, they're still coming.
As you all can see, moving along, they got this east panel of brick, south of the opening where the cells will be coming in, completed last week. They're moving their scaffold out and they're gonna take it around the south, run as much of that up as they can. do with their scaffold concrete. Guys are gonna pour the slab that the cells will be set on and rolled into the building this week. They're gonna do some little extra concrete on outside, on the north side of the corridor, connector corridor, around that area, that drain. They're gonna do the generator and transformer pads. They're gonna pour some interior concrete at the central control, the ramp into or out of the sally port. Just concrete, miscellaneous concrete pads inside. Framers working upstairs. Got the majority of the walls laid out. Last week he's finishing up this morning. They've been shooting in their top track. They start framing walls as soon as the roof is ready, loaded and ready. Got the roof material for that high roof here last week. They're gonna fly it up on Friday when the masons are out and start that roof next week. The high roof, they got the low roof pretty well buttoned up. There's a few miscellaneous items on this east roof that they got, but for the most part we're dried in on that side. Got the sally port roof and then the connector corridor little roof left. Other than that, we're almost dried in. We can see it in the future for sure. Got the roof drains hooked up, so that's a big push keeping her dry. Framers finished up on the outside building. The block layers, interior block, are finishing up central control. It'll be probably the end of the day today or first thing in the morning, finishing up central control wall, or the biggest part of central control. They'll work on finishing up that pod E to F divider wall and start on the divider wall between D and E, and that'll be the last pod wall until the cells are in. Ongoing rough and electrical and plumbing, mechanical, the ductwork. Got about half the ductwork up on the jail, the south side where the cells will be. The sprinkler fitters were here today to start looking at it, getting their pipe in. They're gonna bring some pipe this week and probably start next week, getting some high stuff out of the way. So other than that, we're tracking pretty well. Closed you all off. It's hard to watch it, the progress now, but
Unless you're inside.
it's nice to be inside.
The installation, or I assume it's installation, that came in last week, semi plus of it, where's that all go to?
That'll go on the roof.
That's all for the roof?
For that, yeah, half the roof.
Man, there's a pile of installation.
I think there was 3 semi-loads of it
I've
showed up.
seen one come in.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
All on the west side of the building now.
With all the openings, there's a lot of roof curbs there's a lot of mini splits and, well, there's no skylights on that side, but it's a tapered system, takes a lot of material. And there's a lot of roof drains to taper to and from, and
How thick is that installation? This thing is quite,
I think it's 2 to 4 inches. It varies.
it does vary for if your drainage.
Yep. And it goes from, I think, 4 or 6 inches up to 8 to 12 inches in some areas. There's a lot of waste. Not a lot of waste, but when you're cutting it down for the tapered system, you got a lot of off-fall.
So that's the job to be done, what, the last week of November?
They'll be about 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks up there, after next week. So hopefully by the end of October, they got that one about buttoned up. Then we'll have just a couple of miscellaneous, the Sally Port, the connector corridor, but other than that,
The main part of it will be
right,
great.
ready for the dried in. 'Cause I know everybody's praying for rain, so as long as we can get dried in, I'll pray with you.
Well, we're not as bad as we were.
No, for sure.
Rain won't look much good now except pond water.
Just the block or brick. It'll slow the brick down, but those guys are, if it rains, they're jumping in and hitting. There's about a 4-foot section of brick, and they'll have to get it. Well, they won't be quite the 1028 unless they're working other areas. It'll be kind of fill-in work for them, but that'll be the last thing before the roof, and I think it's about a 2.5 foot wide section just above the bump outs. But they gotta lay it to lay all the way across. Make it look the same.
Looks good. Any questions?
Well, you and I and the sheriff go over payout and change orders. So
maybe to help clear up misinformation that's out there, I'm hearing it multiple times now, that the jail is over budget, it's up to $40 million. Is that true or false? We have not changed our GMP, I don't remember what it was originally, I mean, the 30 million threshold has not changed.
And the jail itself is at 25, whatever.
Correct, our current GMP is 25, waiting the phase 2 of the court.
So, if 40 million or anything, actually a penny over 30 million is mentioned outside these walls, that's not true.
Correct, that, we have not changed up to $30 million number.
Not changed or will not change?
Will not change.
Will not change.
As long as I'm sitting here, it won't change.
See what, Jesse?
As long as I'm sitting here, it's not gonna change.
Right.
But you made that statement
A long time ago, not one penny
Not
over.
one penny, that's what he meant.
That's what I remember.
No, we thoroughly go through each of them and in depth. I mean, there's been items you catch, there's items that we catch before it even gets to you. We push on subs that are each month, pay apps, change orders, we're beating them up a little more than they expect. They didn't quite expect it, they're not used to it, I guess, but, that's what we're here for.
Very
And you're
good.
doing a good job.
We're fighting just as much as you all. We're representative for you all.
We appreciate that.
We spend an hour, sometimes a couple hours going over each of the pay apps before it even makes it to you and question everything that is. And those are the notes that you see, and Cole does a good job, he knows what questions I'm gonna ask, what questions the sheriff's gonna ask. And if something needs further explanation, he calls and he gets an answer.
We should be, this pay app coming up, should be together in the GTA this week, I know for our owner meeting, we're just, I think right around the $2 million mark, going up, a lot of stuff going on, and, we're getting a lot of stored materials, the Pauly Jail's the big one, we got their cell doors, and, I don't know if you remember what else, he's got a lot of pictures this month. Insulation for cells, and quite a bit. But, nonetheless, moving forward, so we'd like to see.
Looks good.
Gotta clear up the bad rumors, the misinformed individuals.
So we have not changed. Nor do we, not gonna have.
Intend on.
Right. So,
Thank
we
you.
hate to see change orders just as much as everybody else, just causes more headache.
Right,
It does,
right.
it does for a fact.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cole.
Road and Bridge, Ryan, you're up.
Good morning.
Morning.
A whole lot today. No call outs this weekend. We got one overnight stay there, this will be for Wayne Ard and myself.
Yeah, we were saying that.
Okay. Landfill conference coming up. Did have one, retirement. Effective today. And with that, I have one position open, so I'd like to get a motion for advertisement to hire for a heavy equipment operator, due to retirement.
Based on recommendation of Road and Bridge Superintendent to advertise and hire one heavy equipment operator, this request will fill a current vacant position within the department due to retirement.
Also move.
Moved by Meeks, seconded by McCurry, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passed.
Alright, thank you. Next, I've got a motion for a couple of precast box culverts. These would be 10 by 5 boxes, out on Austin Road. Similar, these are the same type boxes we use out there on the Side Plate project, but got 2 locations out there. And so total on these two is $116,030, these 2 culverts.
based upon the recommendation of the Road and Bridge Superintendent, to waive the purchasing policy as for good cause, to approve the purchase of 2 precast concrete boxes at 9th Lane and Oxon Road and 10th Road and Oxon Road from Rinker Materials, Shawnee, Kansas, in the amount of $116,030, 0 pennies. Funds to be paid from Special Bridge Fund. I'll move.
Second.
Moved by Knight, seconded by Huguet. Any discussion?
I mean, they just got a good price on that thing.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion.
Alright, thank you. The last motion I have, the state contacted us, and this is just, on road classifications, just making sure that, you know, if there are any changes or any changes, every so often they go through. And so basically I just need a motion just stating that there's not any changes to our, classifications or the functionality on our roads.
Okay. Based on the recommendation of the Road and Bridge Superintendent, move to accept with no changes to functionality classification system.
I'll move.
Second.
Moved by Thompson, seconded by McCurry. Any discussion?
Can we add in there, move to approve resolution number 2024-941, and then the resolution, can I rewrite that real quick?
Yep, sure. Amend the last motion.
And that's the only form I had. It said if there wasn't changes, there didn't need to be a resolution, but I didn't.
Oh,
wasn't
there
sure.
doesn't need to be a resolution?
That's what they said.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why I just made a motion out of it. I wasn't
okay.
for sure, but that was the only form that I could find that they
Okay.
had.
So
Uh,
scratch the
I think it's just only a
Well, I'll
resolution if
write it
there's
down.
changes.
Is this done yearly?
Go ahead. Go
Uh,
ahead, let's leave it then.
I don't think it's yearly, but it's every few years they do it.
I can think we're okay then.
Yeah, just leave it, and I'll wipe that out later.
Okay, any other discussion? We're gonna hold with the motion as read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Who moved and seconded, I missed that.
I moved, I think.
Moved,
Yeah.
yep.
I think.
I think that's
Yeah.
right, Steve, yeah.
Alright, thank you. That is all I have for today. You guys have anything for me?
So thanks for getting some rock out there on, 20th Road.
Oh yeah, they're spotting in. We're
Yeah.
spotting in
Right.
right now, but yeah, that school bus route, I know there's a few soft spots through there.
Yeah, they will.
But yeah, we're hauling rock hard and heavy right now.
And thanks for getting that tree there on Oxford Road, that's quite a tree, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big oak tree.
Yeah.
Big oak tree.
50 highway, there is some big concrete culverts up there east of John Davies's. Where are those gonna be placed?
There's a couple culvert extensions they have. There's one there around Steve Surgeon's place. And then there's another one down, I think there's 2 concrete culverts that will extend out,
Oh, okay.
basically round culverts.
Mhm.
That's just to help, so we don't have to put guardrail there at the end, they were, could easily be extended out.
Okay.
And some of those other narrower rock culverts will wind up with some guardrail
Oh, okay.
at the end of the project, but
Oh, okay.
try to eliminate as much of that guardrail as we could.
They're moving right along up there.
Yeah.
So,
I think they're hoping to get a good weekend this week to have the shoulder asphalt done. So,
You need this right, a background.
yeah, thank you.
Yup. Takes time.
Yep.
Well,
All right, appreciate
thank
it.
you.
guys.
Have
Thank
a
you,
good
Mike,
weekend.
appreciate it.
Emergency management, Amber, you're up. You're up and at 'em.
Good morning.
How you doing? Super, honey. That's pretty darn good, you know?
Especially on Monday.
I know.
You got a sticker underneath your arm on this side.
I got a tag on me, is
You
what I
got a
got.
tag.
Yeah.
There you got it.
Keep pointing that out on camera.
Well, at least you're not wearing a hat and the tags on it, like Minnie Pearl.
I thought that was fashionable, so. I just got this last week, apparently I didn't take it today. Thanks, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Let's see, okay, we'll start off. I did send a resolution to be approved. I think you have it in your packet. Julie fulfilled all the requirements for updating our regional hazard mitigation plan. This plan allows us to be eligible for federal grant opportunities, and it also lowers the flood insurance premiums by increasing the community ratings used for the National Flood Insurance Program. Without an approved hazard mitigation plan, FEMA could deny us disaster funds or grants. So it's very important that we have this plan updated. We went regional, the state went regional, so there's a regional plan for like 6 or 7 counties. We all approved it, we all have input in it, our jurisdictions, our cities, our schools, and our rural water districts, fill out paperwork and everything for this. And the state kind of puts everything together and updates the plan, and so this is the resolution adopting that plan. Should have a motion for that.
Upon the recommendation of the Emergency Management Director, move to authorize Director Chairman to sign resolution number 2024-940, a resolution adopting the Kansas Homeland Security Region J Hazard Mitigation Plan. Is that right?
Yeah.
So moved.
I'll second. Moved by me, seconded by Knight. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Here, oh, actually, sign this one, because I think that one says October 30.
It does.
This one says September.
Do you have the resolution number on it?
No. Can you see?
Oh, yeah, we can take that, yeah.
The back page. Okay.
Cut and paste.
And that has everybody, needs everybody's signature. We'll get that turned in to the state, and the plan is on the county website, under emergency management, under current plan, if anybody wants to read it. It's 100+ pages. So. Tim and I attended the annual Kansas Emergency Management Conference in Manhattan. It was a great opportunity to network with other ENs around the state and to hear lessons learned from events in their counties, as well as 2 solid days of training. Tower update. Scott and Martin are continuing to work with Wade and the cities and a private landowner on the lease agreement. We have received some small boxes of equipment for the towers, which we are storing at our newly cleaned and organized landfill building. Martin has attained quite a bit of radio knowledge, and he's actually traveled to other places like Anderson County and Lawrence PD to help them with radio programming and radio issues that they were having. And by helping out our partners, usually they kind of give us something in return, or they help us with something, so it's kind of a mutual partnership. So really glad that he's able to help those guys. We trained at Newman Hospital and Lyon County EMS last week on receiving contaminated patients. This week we are at Coffee County EMS. And then we train the Coffee County Hospital staff, and they have a FEMA evaluated exercise after their training. We will have Woodson County Reception Center training the evening of October 16th. They will practice receiving evacuees from the county. Tim's been busy finishing up all the Wolf Creek response training for the fire department, schools, and the bus barn. Siren and Leroy is sealed down. We are still waiting on parts, it should be any day now. We did reach out to EMP Shield on, whether the warranty would cover this siren that got struck by lightning, and they were looking into it, they requested some info from us, and we sent it in, so we're just kinda waiting to hear back from them to see, what they say. In the work coming up, we've got SimCell, I'm gonna be the SimCell for a Wolf Creek drill in October. The county is not playing, but I will play the entire county. Wolf Creek's having a media day coming up that I will attend. We have the Radiological Assistance Committee meeting in Independence, Missouri. We're gonna do highway department training before the end of the year, Wolf Creek 101 for new employees, and Wolf Creek EOC role training, and we're hoping to start scheduling NIMS, National Incident Management System training. And when we do that, we'll need anybody who would be involved in any kind of response to take this training. I believe that some of it is online, and then some of it can be classroom in person, and we will try to get the classroom, training here in our county. It's a requirement that we have everybody trained in NIMS. You guys have any questions for me?
Been busy.
Sounds like, just what I was gonna say, sounds like you got a busy schedule next 3 months, so.
Always. Yep, end of the year usually where we shine.
How many hours on the NIMS?
How many hours on what?
How many hours on the NIMS?
Oh, it depends on what level you are. I believe that there is a class that's a couple hours for elected officials. We were gonna try to get to bring that here so that we could get you guys, we could also get the mayors of the cities, maybe have it a couple of evenings or something. That's only I think a couple hours, but
I'm just curious.
once you get into where firefighters and road and bridge and everybody,
Yeah, that can be pretty expensive.
yeah, it could take a little bit. Seems like when we did this last time, though, they were able to do a lot of it online, and so we brought them down to the EOC, everybody took the training, took the test, and, it didn't take too long, like half
I'm
an hour.
just curious.
Yeah. And they've changed stuff so much since when I first took, NIMS training, that I don't even know, it may be an hour, and then you're done. I doubt it, but.
Where are the tires gonna be placed at?
There will
Have you
be,
got locations
Yes.
that you can,
yes, but we have not signed the agreements yet, so I didn't want to give out that
Okay.
info, but we will have one in Leroy, one in Grimley, and one in Woodland.
I think there's a tire going up, I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's a tire going up at Homestead and 50. But I'm not 100% sure, I, looks like they've got anchors there. There's a pipeline that runs through there as well, and so there's a big pad and it looks like to me some anchors, but I'm not 100%. I haven't got out and investigated.
I did ask, and I guess I need to talk to Heidi again, I had asked that any towers that go up, that we be notified, because if we want, before we approve their zoning for that, we could put some stipulations on that, that we can have equipment or repeaters or cameras or anything on those towers. But we have to get in there before they get the zoning approved. So I'd asked a couple times if they could let me know when towers are going up.
And I might be all wrong, it might not be a tower set, I don't know. It's just,
No, I'll check it
something's
out.
going
Yeah,
on there, I
I'll
do
check it
know
out.
that.
But I would like to try to get a process down where if towers go up, we get notified, because, it's kind of important for us to know that ahead of time.
Makes sense.
Yep.
I mean, we're putting these towers up because we really didn't wanna get on anybody else's tower, we wanted to have our own infrastructure. But should things come down the pike, or if we have other things going on, I mean, we would want that ability to
Yep.
have space on the towers. Yep, thanks for letting me know. Great.
Might be worth something checking out anyway.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not
No, that's what I
100%
need.
sure.
I like when people tell me stuff that they think is happening, and then I just go check it out. Okay, anything else?
No. Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, it's my neighbor, be nice to him.
No, you gotta be nice to us.
Hey,
Oh, Wanda, you're up.
Good
Morning.
morning, guys.
Morning.
How you doing?
Good. I've been up early. There's about 650 pounds of crust sitting on the tables right now.
Wow.
That's why I
Sounds
dressed-
delicious.
It sounds delicious, yes. So I am back, to talk about this tax abatement. Some people, I was here before, and then I was kind of referred back to the city about the tax abatement, so I went back to Neutron. Mr. Skipper got involved with Rhonda Taylor and myself before we went to the city council meeting, and he had suggested that I get an industrial revenue bond. And the fancy Kansas City attorneys, my project isn't big enough for them to make enough money off of it. So then, one of the others in the group suggested that I do a contract, get an attorney, do a contract between myself and the city, and I don't feel that's the right way to do it. So I went back, and on the economic development website for Coffee County, it does state that, to get businesses here or to help businesses expand for reduced taxes and or tax abatement on the county website. So that is what I'm here. It's on the website. So, when I was here the last time, I don't remember who asked, about what the taxes was gonna be on this new edition. I believe this is a complete exaggeration of numbers because they did it off the bid, which has clerical, it's got my equipment involved in it, it's got landscaping, things that aren't the building itself.
Got soft costs inside.
Yeah, it's, so,
It's got all the equipment and everything.
yes,
Yeah.
they just did it off the initial bid. So here it is. That the county did up for me. Like I said, I don't think the number is remotely correct.
Wonder what percentage would be equipment and what percent, and
Well,
what percentage,
all we'd have to do is know what the building,
yeah, what they're building it.
yeah.
What are the dimensions of your addition,
Oh,
roughly, do you recall?
I stopped. Let me see. That's not even part of the, I think I brought that the last time.
I think you did, and
I think it's around 1,700 square feet.
That-
1,750,
And that's just of your addition.
that's just the addition,
That's not counting.
and that's what you're talking about for an abatement,
Yes.
obviously, is the addition.
is the addition.
Right.
I
And
just wanna refresh everybody.
Yes.
on-
Right.
So what I'm asking for is a 10-year abatement on the new building, and I am also asking for a cap on my existing building. Meaning that I don't want somebody comes along new and goes, oh, well, now we've got this new building attached to the old building, now the old building's worth buku more, so I'm asking for a cap on my existing building as well.
So that it's not increased after the new
Yes.
building is put up.
Yes.
Is that what you're getting
Yes,
at?
that's what I'm getting
I
at.
don't know if we can do that, can we?
They're not, anything is possible. I think
I don't-
anything is possible because I don't wanna be mean, but we're all here together, but 5 years from now, it could be a whole different group of people here and nobody may not know. And then the person that goes around and does the appraisals may not know, and then,
Well, I'm not the appraiser, but I mean, I don't know how we can tell you that your taxes wouldn't go up on your existing building, can we?
If the state raises the valuations, that would increase it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Maybe there's a way, but I just,
I don't
I
know
don't
whether Connie
know
can,
how.
I don't know whether Connie can answer that question or not.
Yeah, I'm
well,
not
that
sure.
was, one of the things that Bobby Skipper had suggested when we were discussing, the abatement, but then the industrial revenue bond came, and then that all kind of went to the side.
Yeah.
Was that there needs to be a cap put on the existing building so that it doesn't reverse and now the old building's worth a huge amount of money, and it's really not. Because it's now connected to the new building.
But it's going to be, well, there's gonna be increased in value some, why is
Mhm. The old building or the new building?
the old bit, are they attached, they're attached?
It will be attached, yes. There'll be like a breezeway that connects the two buildings together,
Okay.
the old building and the new building, so it would tie everything together.
And then we could check into that. I just, you know, don't wanna say something we don't have the authority to do.
Right,
that's all.
that's just what was suggested, was that I asked for a cap be put on
I don't doubt that, I mean, I don't doubt,
that, just to protect that end of it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's why I'm back, is requesting that tax abatement.
The equipment, it's not taxed, right?
No, property tax, no,
And then 604 includes that.
yes, that's a complete bid. The company, VHS Construction is who I will be having build, and they'll be contracting everything from the electrical to the plumbing, to the HVAC, the refrigeration, coolers, freezers that are gonna be going in it.
and I think that's what you said the last time, that, I mean, this number is somewhat similar to the last time, if I remember.
Yeah, that was the bid that they gave
And
me.
that included all the equipment
Yes.
and everything.
That includes everything.
Yeah.
That's their whole, they're
Yeah.
doing the whole project.
So I guess, to further help you, I'm thinking we just need, the bid for the building. We can go from there, and it says on our website, that's what we're gonna do, we'll figure out something.
Yeah,
I got no problem putting a cap on the existing at all.
yeah, and I don't have a problem doing the
I
tax abatement.
don't either, just don't know if we can.
Tom, I don't have a problem doing the tax abatement, per se, just as long as we know what the cost of the building would be, and that's what you're asking for.
Yeah.
I mean, does that sound?
Yeah,
The building
I-
should be about half of that, what I'm seeing. Just guessing.
probably, yeah,
Okay,
should come in around, I'd have to look at it. I
Because the
didn't-
equipment,
that's just a guess.
because the equipment, the last time,
Equipment is around, I believe it was 100,000 for the freezer and the cooler.
that's,
And then you've got the electrical, and all of that is still included, which isn't really the building per se.
right,
I mean, it is, but there's a lot of labor in there, and there's
Right.
a ton of administrative.
If you've got a 1,700 square foot building going up, I'm gonna think you're probably gonna be somewhere around the $250 square foot.
I was guessing 200.
200, at 200, you're at $340,000. And if I run their numbers just off rough numbers, you're looking at about 10.8 a year in taxes. And they're estimating at 19.3. So I'm just throwing,
Yeah.
they're including the equipment on this
Yeah.
side, I'm just trying to figure square footage side by side.
And
Right.
I'm great with doing the abatement, and I'm fine with doing the other if we can, I just,
I don't know about the cap, I'm okay with the abatement for this rough numbers here at 10 to
yeah,
19,000.
I'm good with that, I'm just not sure on the cap side.
On the
because
cap side.
Because somewhere along the line, it's going to be appraised at a certain
yeah, that will
value.
change, I just don't see how, don't know if we can do that, but,
And I understand what Vaughn is doing, because that new building is obviously worth more than her existing building.
Yeah,
it is attached by a breezeway, though, they're not
Right,
being, right, that's the way I
well,
understood.
that's what I call it, is a breezeway. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a functioning part of the building.
Yeah, two rooms aren't being adjoined, though, or anything. Basically. It's not gonna become one building, you might say, you're being
No.
attached by a walkway,
Yeah, like
basically. Yeah,
Something
I don't,
yay wide,
okay, I don't,
but I don't know what you really call it. I just call it a breezeway.
so how's business going? Crazy?
Good, yeah,
Good.
it's gonna get really crazy, and I don't have any freezer space, so if you see me outside crying, it's because I don't have freezer space.
Wintertime's coming.
I know, right? It's gotta be, we have to maintain 0 to keep frozen fruit frozen, so 0.
zero.
So, yeah, if you ever went in that little freezer, well, it's not little, but 18, the one that sits underneath the carport, that runs at 0/24/7. So,
Well, just, I don't know what I'm missing, something out, 2023 mill levies, .128, 158. Is that a correct level for the mill levy?
I can't, I wouldn't.
Connie typed this up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 2023.
Based on the 2023,
Yeah.
I'm assuming,
I would assume that their mill levy is 65.479. So where's your 1.128 come from?
What is this, that's McConaughey
And I may have,
It says .128.
she said her mill levies for 24 not available at this time.
yeah,
So she's based it on the 2023 mill levy.
but our mill levy stayed the same.
Yeah.
I think we probably got a couple, in my mind, maybe a couple things to visit with Connie, and she may have to make a call to think and get clarification on the,
Cap.
on the cap.
I'm certain we can figure something out here.
perfect.
I just,
Again,
we just
I don't have a
we just
problem.
gotta have the right
We
information.
just gotta have the right information, I'm in agreement with giving her the tax abatement.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
she's an existing
I mean-
business and trying to grow and.
yeah, regardless what these figures are here that Connie
Right.
give us, I mean, which, like she said, that includes the equipment,
Sure.
but to me, it's kind of irrelevant. At least for me,
Yeah.
I'm willing to give her tax
Yeah, I
abatement
do
on
too.
addition.
I'm
That's
not
my
sure who
thought.
asked for that.
Oh,
I was here the last
that doesn't
time.
matter, all
But-
I'm saying is, we're
Yeah.
discussing whether this is correct or not.
Oh,
I think one
To
of
me,
the.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, we're gonna do a tax abatement on it,
Yeah.
And
or I
that's-
would like to.
so
I'm
I,
not sure the number's correct.
And I think the last time that number, that 600,000 came up, and at that time you said that there was equipment and everything included. And I think that, at that time, well, then you were advised to go back to
the city.
the city.
Mhm.
But at that time, if my memory is correct, that we didn't know what the cost of the building itself was going to be.
Yeah, and so that's the initial bid.
Sure.
They're actually supposed to be building to budget,
So,
a lot lower.
so are you on a time crunch to get does this abatement have to be done before you start construction, am I remembering
That would-
correctly or not?
That, I don't know, that,
You're not basing the tax abatement on a rebate that would be counted towards actual income, are you, for your loan or anything?
no,
Okay.
no,
I
think
think
that's
that's
way-
waiting for some help
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I guess what my thought is, if you're being held up because of this, then
oh,
can we agree to do the abatement and then worry about the cap?
yeah, I'm not
just-
being held up.
Okay,
For
okay,
me going forward, I'm not being held up.
okay, that's my
No.
question, yeah.
I've got some other irons
As long as we
going
get answers
too.
for you in the next couple of weeks, it'd be
Yeah.
plenty quick enough.
Mhm.
What the
Okay,
abatement,
okay.
what the abatement's going to do is help you plan forward the next
Yes,
several years
Yeah.
out.
mhm,
Is
Okay.
what it's going to do.
Yes.
Right.
yeah,
We wanna
Yeah.
encourage you,
Yeah, we do.
happy to have you here.
Yeah, we appreciate what you're doing for the county, and
thank you.
you can bear with us a couple of weeks, we'll try to have the answers.
No,
for you.
that's fine, whatever, if there's more numbers, I don't know what I need, so, and I'm not sure if this is in your pocket, or in your corner now, or again,
It probably is.
So,
Would you print it off the website? And have that with you, just so I
Well-
can make sure I'm looking at the same thing.
it was more just a screenshot
Sure.
that someone sent it to me, but it doesn't have, I guess, the other side. Incentives, and then the other page. And the incentives are to get businesses to come here, and,
Gotta do something to help the ones that are here, or try to
Yeah.
do something to help the ones that are here. I understand.
Wonder,
Yeah.
you want that? No? Yeah?
on the folks that are building the building, would you be able to reach out to them and just get a cost for the building itself? I mean,
So
I
it
know,
was all broken out on
the bid that I gave to Connie.
Okay.
Oh, okay, okay,
Everything, every line item was on there. Every
Okay.
single line item was
Okay.
on that bid.
Okay.
So,
No, 1,700 square feet and $600,000 for a building, and
That's pretty expensive.
that is awful. I don't mean to be critical, but
oh
that is,
no, I
that
am,
is awful expensive.
I am paying for the courtesy of having a general contractor, because I've been trying to do this for 3 years now, and have had no movement from anywhere. So I'm paying that, part of that chunk, a huge chunk of that money, is to have somebody,
this
That's
is
making-
this is a turnkey.
yes,
I mean, once you're done, you're set up to do it.
Yes.
Is that correct?
She's got like River City working for her.
Yes.
Right,
yes,
right,
because obviously me doing it myself has gotten me nowhere.
because these folks are taking care of electrical, plumbing, your equipment
Know
that's
what? Yeah.
needed and everything.
And they have my, just like he does, he's got your best interest, these guys have my best
Sure,
interest.
right.
They're not gonna be the plumber who is gonna try to make the sewer go uphill and then back downhill, or whatever it is they're gonna try to do to pull one over on
Sure,
it.
sure.
And I, like I said, struggling with it for 3 years, I know that's what will happen.
Right, Wanda, let us get back with, let us get some
Sure.
stuff figured out here. We'll call you back, try to get something answered for you.
Yep, that's fine,
Okay.
yeah, whatever, and if you need any more
Very good
papers or
information.
special papers, I can get that for you too.
Thank
Alright,
Thank you.
well, thank you guys, have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Thank you.
Before you leave, let me
Okay.
just show you, I'm gonna put something on the screen. Just so
Yeah.
everybody has the same thing, and I know.
We've got a 10 o'clock that we've gotta be ready for.
Right. This. Goes to the fourth stuff. So, Kansas Department of Revenue website, this deals with property tax evasion. So, exemption of property for economic development purposes, and it has all these different things listed. Board of County Commissioners of any county or the governing body of any city may approve for economic development purposes a property tax exemption for up to 10 years per Article 11, Section 13 of the Kansas Constitution. That's where this comes from. And then it talks about qualifications, the procedure. A city or county must adopt uniform policies and procedures, including a cost-benefit analysis and a system for monitoring exemptions. Cost-benefit analysis must be performed on each application for exemption. I'm not gonna go through and read all of that. Before Bobby had left, I had mentioned the county does not have uniform policies and procedures. Those need to be developed and adopted, and I think, my understanding is before he left, that was in the process. I don't know if the city of New Strong has uniform policies and procedures. There are a number of communities that don't, they've not utilized this exemption under the Kansas Constitution. I'm just telling you ahead of time so you know procedurally, there are steps that have to be taken, because then that information, ends up, there's a public hearing, and then it ends up being sent up to the Board of Tax Appeals for their decision. So it's a process. And the county, needs to make sure that it has this policy and procedure in place. And this is just on the,
But that's something that, that's something we could.
yeah, it's out there. It just needs to be developed, and you need to have it in front of you, and then you need to adopt that policy and procedure. So that when it does go to the Board of Tax Appeals, there's a document that establishes what the rules are and the structure of those rules to get an exemption under the Constitution.
2 weeks might be too close to, too quick to do that.
2 weeks might be
Well,
too soon.
that's
But-
why,
You know, if we gotta adopt a policy.
But that being said, as long as the consensus is still there to do the abatement.
Right.
And this isn't pressing longer to do her job.
Right.
If
Right.
she, if
So
she
we
were
have
to-
the intention, yeah.
We've got the intention, yeah.
I just wanted there to be a realistic timeline of what's
Right,
needed and
right.
what's expected.
Right. No, I've looked at all of that.
being here asking, asking questions about this, and I think you're the first that has asked for an exemption under this particular section of the Kansas Constitution. So I have examples of sort of that process from other surrounding counties and other communities. So it's not like it's gonna be a heavy lift that the county needs to catch up.
Wait, I don't mean to sell you short, but we gotta get,
Yep.
we gotta get Sheriff Tom Johnson and Amelia up here.
Thank you very
Thanks, Lauren, I wanted to, can you do this in 10 minutes? Okay, 9 minutes. Sorry, come on up, Amelia.
Yeah, so, we're placed on the agenda to discuss the Coffee County Normal Wellness Board. We've been having some discussions, and, the next step to proceed was to, continue to make progress with the board. And it was recommended that, Sheriff Tom Johnson and I come to you guys today to, request to be appointed chairman and vice chairman of the Mental Wellness Board. And then in a week or two's time, we'll present the bylaws.
Okay.
I can remind that, or
Okay.
who's gonna be chairman and vice chairman? I will be chairman, and then Sheriff Johnson will be vice.
After today, I might be your first customer.
Don't mention that, which,
Okay. Angie's got the motion typed up. Motion to appoint Health Department Administrator Amelia Merchant as chairman and Sheriff Tom Johnson as vice chairman of the Mental Wellness Board.
I'll second.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Meeks. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'll be back in a week or two. So, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry we was a little late.
Oh, no worries.
Well, now we're a few minutes ahead. Anybody need a break?
Sure.
We'll take a break till 10 o'clock.
Uh,
9:59, I guess. Whatever we can do. We're supposed to be on at 10, so. Yeah, it's a, they wanted just a phone call, and I was like, no, that's not gonna work out well. So Angie contacted them about doing a Zoom or being a. Yeah, we can flip back on. I did say 8:59, or 9:59.
Yeah, excuse me.
First I said 10 o'clock, then I said 9:59. That way we can be ready for our 10 o'clock call with the Department of Revenue. We're back, 10 o'clock Zoom call with Kansas Department of Revenue, Property Valuation Division. Mike Dahlman,
I can see we're waiting on that.
we're waiting on them, that's good. Working in your office. She's working in her office. He can stand. Todd Weber, you're the commissioner. Anytime it comes, or it's when it's something to do with.
I'm not sure how much, I'm not sure how much.
Not sure.
It's a meeting, we're gonna cover.
Maybe fine.
I'm gonna go call him and show that he's gonna get on.
He's accepted it,
Guess we need to figure out it's state time, not our time.
Like in Wolverine,
Should've lost,
huh?
should've lost,
do I need to go in on my computer?
no.
It should show us on his side to accept.
I don't know if I'm the organizer, do I need to do it?
He should be the
Oh,
organizer.
Did you set it up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you need to log in.
Oh. Great.
As the host, and then probably put yours on
You,
mute, and then accept this one and accept them. Since you set up the meeting.
I thought they set up the meeting, so my
No.
bad.
and so he's on. What does it say?
Wait for others to join.
Okay. Let me send it to him again.
Let's try it again, okay?
I'll send him the,
Get on.
cause I've got it on, and if you can click on that, then maybe he'll go right in. Tell him to click, yeah, I just sent it.
Okay. Click it again.
Or go, I sent him a new one.
Oh, she sent you a new one in the email, so try that one, Mike. Do what?
UPS waiting.
I see you. Okay, there, he's on. He should be on.
Now you should be getting on.
That's me.
That's Andy. Or,
Okay, wait, you're not showing.
Try not to. Try not to run over weight.
No, get a run at it if you're gonna take it back.
okay.
I've run it, not very quick.
Well, I won't be able to get out of the way, so you won't have
You
to.
see everybody?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why my camera's not working. Can you guys see me at all?
No?
don't know if my camera's not working. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready to go ahead and get started?
Yeah.
One of my cameras.
Top right corner, there should be some icons, Mike. Can you see it says camera, Mike? Share?
Camera,
Something's happening. Okay, camera's off. You've got a background set as your camera, I think.
I've never had this issue before. I'm not sure why this is not working. Well, well, this is frustrating. I don't know why this is not working.
Can you at least share your screen so you can go over the document? That we don't need to see you, but maybe seeing the
Okay.
document might help. You can try that.
Let me hold in. Well, I got my camera on, but it's not recognizing anything.
There's a solution you can, wait up.
Yeah, I have no idea.
They can bring it up?
They can hear me, but they just can't see me. So let me see if I can at least share my screen with you, see if that works. See, copy. Oh, there we go. Hey. Oh. Good. Now can you see me?
We can see you.
Yes, sir.
Probably better off not seeing me. Anyway, so now let me see if I can share this screen. Make sure the
Now we've got your computer.
Okay, so this first thing, that first handout I sent out here was just basically the statute that is the reason why property valuation or somebody from property valuation has to contact the commissioners. It's in regards to our substantial compliance. If a county is considered out of substantial compliance the prior year, we're required to have a meeting with the commissioners to go over the ratio results and they call it audit in the statute, but it's basically procedural results. And then the last part of the presentation is going over the appeal information. And so that's all that this is. It's again just the statute, so you know why we're doing it. Oh, hang on. What I'm gonna spend most of my time on is the scorecard. Let me get this put back over here, which is this document. It's actually 2 pages. known as Coffee County 2024 Compliance Review. So the scorecard, that's how we determine whether a county is in substantial compliance or not. Substantial compliance is made up of two, basically phases. There's the statistical portion of it, and then there's the procedural portion of it. And I guess, since I got flustered here getting started, first of all, I should introduce myself. My name is Mike Dahlman. I'm the property manager here at, Property Valuation. My main duties is overseeing the procedural portion of this substantial compliance. I've recently been put over the ratio study and trying to make sure everything is done accurately there. So now, back with the scorecard. You will see it here at the very top. We have a subclass weighting. And this is only used on the statistical portion of the scorecard. So for statistics, we look at two classifications. We look at residential and commercial. We do not look at agricultural properties, vacant lots, exempt, anything else. It's purely residential and commercial. So when we do that, we want to weight each classification, and the way we weight it is based off the appraised value for those two classifications in the county. So you can see here, you know, the 427 million for residential and the 852 for commercial makes up, for these two, we want to come up with 100%. So 91% of the value is residential, 9% of the value is commercial. And again, you'll see here where those numbers play a role here coming down. So that, again, that's just the weight of these two classifications, residential and commercial, based off the appraised value. So now we talk about the actual statistical portion of it. So you can see we have, again, residential and we have commercial. And within each classification, we figure a median ratio for residential and for commercial, and then we figure a COD for residential and commercial. The median ratio, and it doesn't matter, it's the same for residential and for commercial. To be in statistical compliance, the county has to be within a 90% to 110% fair market value range. And for the COD, both for residential and commercial, the uniformity measure has to be below 20. And so you will see in this first column, this is what I refer to as the actual numbers. So for the median residential is 73.3%. That's below the 90 threshold. And you'll jump down to commercial median ratio, and you'll see it's at 93.7, so it's above the 90%. The next measure is the COD. And you see that for residential, the COD actual number is 27.3, and the actual number for commercial is 42. So those are the actual statistical numbers. The next set of numbers is what we refer to as a confidence range or confidence interval. Basically, this is what determines whether the county is really in or out of statistical compliance. We used to always include the actual number as part of the calculation, but now, about 2 years ago, we changed it to look at just the range. And so the same numbers apply. For the median, one of those numbers has to be in the 90 to 110 range, or they have to encompass that. So you can see both of the numbers there, the 65.8 and the 79.0 are both below 90. And so county is considered out of compliance statistically on that. The COD, again, both numbers need to be, or one of those two numbers needs to be below 20. Again, the low end is 23, the high end being 33.9. County is considered out of compliance on the COD for residential. Jump down to the commercial. Now here you can see the median ratio for commercial is 40.6 to 146.7. They encompass that 90 to 110 ratio, so it's considered, even though it's a low and high range, it's considered in compliance. And statistically, you know, based off the actual number, it's also in compliance. But now if you look at the COD for commercial, the low end being 22, the high end being 107.8, both numbers being above the 20 threshold, so it's considered out. Any questions up to that point?
You take the residentials up there, Mike, at the medium range, you know, we're 73.3, we need to be a minimum of 90. Does that say we're off, out of line for 16.7%?
That's, if you, based off statistics, that's what it's telling you.
And this is based on
And
sales.
and this wouldn't have happened overnight, over 1 year, would it? It's been a 2 or 3 years that it probably happened over this differential, it's an issue.
Well, yeah, usually what happens, and, you know, what I tell most, you know, I tell all the commissioners I meet with, you know, I mean, this has been an issue ever since COVID. That's what really drew, or, you know, that's what caused residential market values just to go sky high. Now, what has happened, and this is something that even happened prior to COVID, and, you know, exists now, you know, we tell counties you got the range of 90 to 110. Of course, nobody wants to be over 100. So in reality, you want to be somewhere between 90 and 100. 100%, perfect world, fair market value, that's what everything sells for, that's what the appraised value is. We don't live in the perfect world, so we're never going to be at 100%. So counties shoot for that 90 to 110. Most county appraisers like to be on the low end. They want to be in that 90 to 95 range, you know, and that's common practice statewide. And so what happens is if you're on that low end, and, you know, like last year, and I don't know, I'd have to look it up, I don't know what the range was last year, but potentially if you were on the low end, if all of a sudden you have a year where you have a strong market, people coming in paying a lot more than what they normally would pay for property, drives that market up, and all of a sudden, you're behind. And then you have to make the decision, okay, do I want to increase values 15, 20, 30%, whatever it may be, or do I try to ease back into this? And you know, a lot of appraisers, you know, they felt, and here at the state, we felt the same. We saw the big increase hit when COVID came. We thought that, okay, this is going to calm down after a couple of years. Well, you know, I don't know for each individual county, but statewide overall, it has not settled down. I mean, the market's as strong now as it has been. We haven't really seen the reduction in sell amounts as far as dollars being paid. We may be seeing a reduction in the number of sales that are occurring, but values are still very strong. Another factor that plays into this is in the smaller counties, and I don't know, I can tell you, I don't have it on the report here, but so for Coffee County, for these statistics, it was based off of 89 residential sales and 9 commercial sales. So, like a lot of things, the smaller that data set number, the more a few, sales can have a large impact. Not saying 89 is a small number, but it's smaller than, some of the, like bigger counties, they don't have a problem. They can absorb, some people coming in and paying twice what the appraiser may have on it. But in a smaller county, if somebody comes in and pays twice what the appraiser has on it, even though, if it's a valid sale, willing buyer, willing seller, we consider that a valid sale here, and that has a huge impact on these numbers over here. You get a handful of those, and they can drive this number down real fast, so that's always something to keep into consideration when you're looking at these numbers. What we do with this information then is, each one of these is allocated 25 points, but then we take it times this weighting number from up here, so 91% of these points are assigned to residential and, 9% to commercial. And so, you can see the points possible, 22.8 was for the residential median, 22.8 was for the residential COD. Both were out, so the county did not receive any of those points. And every appraiser in the state knows that if you're out on residential, you're gonna be out of substantial compliance. They go hand in hand. Because, that's 45 points right there. But we'll go through the rest of it anyway, but that's a killer. I mean, there's no hiding it. Now, on the commercial portion of it, they were in on the median for the commercial. You can see they get 2.3 points. They got those. They were out on the COD, so they did not get the 2.3. So out of 50 points possible, the county received 2.3 for statistical compliance. At that point, we're going to go through the rest of the report, but at this point, the county is out of substantial compliance just based off statistics. You have to have a score of 75% or 75 out of 100, and as you can see right here, we're already below that. So that's how the statistical portion works. Now, I do tell counties that, statistically, this looks like you need to increase values 15 to 20% on residential properties. We, from the state level, are not going to tell any county they have to raise values. I don't care if it's 1%. We're just showing you statistically where the county is at currently. I don't know what the mid-year, you probably had a mid-year report.
I have it right here.
County may have that.
I have it.
We provide a mid-year report. I think the numbers were better on that report, if I remember right, looking at it. But, of course, those are changed, but these numbers are based off the sales of 23 and the appraised values that were the 24 appraised values. So any questions on that?
May not be exactly on that, but does new construction have a play in this?
This is just on sales, that part is just sales.
I agree, but I mean, there's been a lot of houses built throughout the county in this year alone.
Yeah, and there's been some that are sold that we really noticed too.
Yeah, curious.
The only way new construction would be involved is, say the house, if the house was built in 23 and sold in 23, it may play a factor, but usually the full appraised value on new construction doesn't occur until the following year, and those sales would not be included in this study.
It'd be worse for next year and the year after.
I've got this year's
Got it.
What did it come up from, Connie?
My, median ratio is in that range between the 90 and 110.
It is now.
Can I see that for a minute?
Yeah, 76.7 to 95.5.
Give me a second here, and I think I can pull it up here for you.
83.3, so it,
And my COD's in.
and one of them 12.20.
No, that's last year's, hang on.
That's just residential.
I don't have any.
So right now,
because I haven't had enough.
they're within this range.
So you're there.
This is already, what you've got right there is taking into account of the
The first
increase
6 months
that
for
already
24.
increased.
Yeah.
That has already increased.
Yes.
And so what we're not talking about is another 16% increase.
I hope not, but I.
Well,
can't-
that's what I'm trying to figure
Yeah, I'm
out.
trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we gotta get down to the nuts and bolts with Mike.
We're
What-
closer this
what
year
is-
than we were last year.
Right, exactly. So if he can see what you're looking at right there, oh yeah, you got it up there.
Now here, so this is the mid-year I was referring to. So yeah, you can see, I mean, the actual number's still low. It's down to 83, but you can see by the range of what we use, you can see we're now, the county is back in compliance at a 95.5.
Okay.
And the COD is actually, both the actual COD and the confidence interval are both below the 20 range. So currently, you know, as of the end of June, this is January through June sales, you know, the county is in a much better state with, you know, the values. Now, a lot of things can happen between now and December, but, you know, unless something gets really crazy, they should be in a lot better shape. And there's nothing for commercial right now because, we have to have at least 3 valid sales for each classification. And currently, we don't have the 3 valid commercial sales in the county, so there was no mid-year statistics. So there was just the residential. So yeah, I mean, you know, it'll just depend on kind of how things fall, you know, between now and the end of the year. You know, what, you know, county, the appraiser's office follows that on a monthly basis. We validate sales up here on a monthly basis. And hopefully are sending our results back to the appraiser's office. One thing to keep in mind is we do our own validation, based off the SVQs. The county does have, or the appraiser does have the right to appeal anything that we, you know, sometimes we make things valid that, maybe shouldn't be valid, and the county does have the right to appeal those. But that's how this information is, you know, developed, is based off the validation process we do.
So Mike cutting through all the red numbers and tape. So as the tracking is going now for the county appraiser side, we're tracking in the upward trend of what you are wanting to see, is that correct?
That's correct,
Okay,
yeah.
so you're not here to say that the county appraiser needs to add 15% to all evaluations, residential and commercial. What has been done in the past is tracking in the right direction.
This is 2022, correct?
2023 sales, yes.
Right. So,
Yeah, this is 23 data, the mid-year is
Right.
was the 24s.
right, so from January until.
Yeah, as of now, the county is
Right.
tracking in a much better, well, like I say, the actual number's still kind of low at 83, but, you know, that's 10% higher than it is here, but we're still looking at the range, and you can see that one range on the, you know, is up to 95.5, so, yeah, numbers are much better as of now, anyway. Like I say, not saying the wheels won't fall off between now and December, but I would say something drastically would have to happen between now and December for that to happen.
And so in order for that to happen, then the sales would have to increase dramatically, is that correct?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you explain the rest of that, Mike, where I got all my other points?
100%.
Yeah. So, the rest of the rest of the first page and over on the second page is what we refer to as the procedural phase. Basically, how this works is, I don't know exactly, I should count this up, there's about a dozen to 15 different phases that the appraiser's office has to complete throughout the year. Now, for procedural, we kind of go on a July 1 to July 1 timeline. We're on ratios, on the statistical portion, it goes on a January to December 31st deadline, or timeframe. So procedures, it can vary, it varies from each phase. Some phases is just a matter of the county appraiser having to fill out a report and submit it to us on a timely manner. Other phases, they have to do some analysis, you know, for example, we're looking at these here. Scope of work is the first phase. These are just reports that the county appraiser's office has to submit to us on a scope of work is a annual report submitted every April, and then the quarterly reports are reports submitted every quarter. So there's 4 of those, and then again, those are just reports that they have to fill out and submit to us on a specific timeline. The way it works here is this first column are the points that the county can possibly earn, and then this is the actual points that the county does earn. And so, as we go through here, you can see, you know, the county's received all the points. Sales file, there's just certain things that the county has to do to maintain a sales file. They're doing that. They're doing the reinspection and quality control like they're supposed to do. Land valuations, they're doing all the documentation and analysis that's required of them. Construction cost multipliers, again, doing what needs to be done. Depreciation, this includes residential, manufactured home, commercial, and then overrides. County's doing everything. They're doing everything that needs to be done. Flip over to the second page, we get into the income approach. I'm not sure, a lot of counties are not utilizing income. We do allow them not to have to develop models. I don't remember if you're doing anything or not, Connie. But anyway, everything is being done, what needs to be done. Comp sales, county's met the requirements there. The final review process, everything is done there. So up to this point, they've gotten all 42 points that are possible. Come down to ag use. County has met all the different phase requirements here. So procedurally wise, the county has gotten 100%. They're doing 50 out of 50. So procedurally, the appraiser's office is doing everything they need to do. It's just a matter of trying to keep up with the market, you know, and it looks like they've done it much better, you know, based off the preliminary, things are much better, you know, going forward than they were this past year. And it's not uncommon, it's, you know, I think, I don't know if I still have that pulled up. So you can see, this dates back to 2010. This is the first year the county's been considered out of substantial compliance in the last, you know, 14 years or whatever. So it's, you know, it's not something that we're concerned about. And, you know, it's, with the market the way it's been the last 3-4 years, you know, it's not abnormal for us to see some of these smaller counties struggling with residential values, trying to keep up with the market. As far as going back to the top, as far as commercial, even prior to, you know, being in, what I said, it was 9 sales, you know, commercial is really hard to be in substantial compliance, both with the median and with the COD. two factors. One, the biggest one being the number of sales and the amount of data that they get to use or that there is to use. That's the biggest factor. And the other factor is, as far as consistency, you know, there's not, all commercial properties for the most part, other than maybe downtown Rose, are unique. You know, you may have 5 banks, but they're all different. You know, they're built differently, they're brick, they're framed, or whatever they may be. Where residential, you know, you may have 100 ranch-style homes, and so you can compare them one to another. Where you don't have that availability with commercial as much as being able to compare. You know, you might have a bank that sells, but that bank may be an A-plus bank, and the rest of them are, you know, C banks. So commercial's just a lot more challenging. And that's one reason too, we went with the weighting is, you know, it is harder to be in compliance on the commercial side of things, so. So that's the scorecard in a nutshell. At the bottom here, you have the statutorial compliance part of it. We do not add points for statutorial requirements, we only deduct. So if the county did not do or did not meet one of the requirements here, there would be a -5. So the county met all the requirements, so we did not deduct anything here. So the overall score was a 52.3 out of 100. Again, it was all racial related, so you need a 75 or above to be in substantial compliance. And so that's how the substantial compliance is determined.
But with the new numbers, Mike, with the new numbers that is available in July or June 30, we right now our rating would be 75 plus, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because both of these would be considered in, so you'd be getting those 45 points.
Yeah. At what point in time, will 12/31 numbers come out? Is that January, February, March?
Usually March,
Oh,
April, we have till April,
yeah.
minimum.
Yeah, it takes a while because we don't actually get the SEQs for, well, we're usually about 15 days behind each month of getting the SEQs. So all the sales that take place in December, we don't get them until about the middle of January. However, we also look at January for any sales that took place in December. So that puts us back to the middle of February. And so, yeah, we're hoping moving forward that we'll have, what we call a preliminary out, you know, sometime in March, first part of April.
Any questions?
I don't have any more, as long as we're trending in the upward,
in the right direction.
trending on the upward side, and we don't have to raise values for taxpayers is the main thing, and it just fell behind, and we knew it was behind.
Right.
Because
Right.
Lyon County went up a year prior, and so we tried to be more conservative.
Trying to keep it down, yeah.
I know, and then it turned around and bit us on the backside, and so.
Well, the values are in, like they said, at
Yeah.
Colma, you know, the values just skyrocketed, and now we've reached a place where it's kind of leveled off or maybe retract a little bit, so.
You have anything else, Mike?
Well, the only other thing I'll just take, the only other document, and I don't really need to go into it, because it's tied to that scorecard, and since the counties do, this document, you should have a copy of this too, this just tells you, it's a little bit more defined, it ties to the scorecard, this is the procedural part, so if the county would have happened to get a no somewhere in here, there would be a comment down in here telling you why they got a no. But the appraiser's office got yeses on everything, so there's no comments, to be made. This just tells you when the trend studies were published and when they mailed CBMs, that's nothing there. This tells you like when the tax rolls were certified. This gives you the personal property information when, you know, CBNs were mailed, you know, if there was oil and gas when it was mailed. So that's all this is. It's just, this is tied to that scorecard. So nothing there that nothing there I need to go into. The only other thing is on the appeals, and let me click all that up, and then I can let you guys go unless you have further questions. Is here. So basically, we look at 3 years of appeal information, and what this is we compare the statewide averages or totals to the individual county totals. So on commercial, again, we're looking at just commercial and residential classification. Here's the parcel counts. This is the appeal counts. Evidently, there wasn't any commercial appeals for this past year, or this was based off of information that's entered into Orion at the time we run this report. So if something was entered after we ran this report, you know, we wouldn't have it. But as of now, we didn't have any information. As you can see, this just shows you, like, for example, statewide average was 7%, a little over 7% of commercial property appealed. How many were adjusted? Statewide average was 20%. This is just for 2024. You can look at the different averages for the prior years. Now, on residential, you can see that the statewide appeal percentage was 2.27%. The counties is at 0.67%. Number of adjusted, statewide average was just below 50%, and the county average for adjustment was just over 80%. So there's nothing here that jumps out at us. The reason for this, back when they implemented this fall, is supposedly, you know, legislators were getting phone calls that from constituents that they weren't getting any satisfaction at the informal appeal process or informal level. As you can see, you know, I haven't seen any county, if they weren't getting any adjustment, this would be like zero. You know, there'd be nothing adjusted, and we're not seeing that with any county. So, I you know, again, I don't have the issues here. If anybody have any questions? Again, it gives the same, just based off 22, based off 23, and based off 24.
I don't have any questions,
Go ahead.
Mike. Appreciate your time, what we do, and explaining this to us, and it's good that we're trending upward. Hopefully we don't have to raise property values anymore.
Yeah, yeah, you know, I mean, one thing to keep in mind, I mean, not saying that values won't go up, but you're not, right now, it doesn't look like you're needing to do any type of drastic changes. You know, individual properties will be appraised accordingly, and some may go up, some may go down, but as a countywide average, you're going in the right direction. So, numbers are a lot better.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you, and if you have any other questions, reach out to me or give Connie always knows how to get ahold of me.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, have a good day.
Thanks,
Too.
Tom.
Thanks, Tony. Okay. Running a little behind. Start at 10:30, Hecate Evergy, Jack Kelly, and Harrison Luma, Solar Rigs, come forth.
Hello.
Morning.
Morning.
Actually, got these to pass out. I've got one for commissioner right now.
Are you Harrison? Are you?
I'm Harrison.
Okay.
And then, I think I might be the next one.
Thanks, Tom.
Just wanted to come, introduce our project, which is very early stage, but we'll get into that in a second, and also bring a couple experts Craig Wakeman, who's our Senior Director of EPC, as Engineering, Procurement, and Construction, and Diane Sullivan, who's our Head of Environmental and Permitting for all of Hecate Energy. Jack Kelly, some of y'all might know, he's been around, he's on our development team, and Jalen, who's in our community outreach team as well. We want to be available to answer questions from the board, from any commissioner if they have them. We want to be helpful. We want to make ourselves, available for anything y'all need. And we want to act in a transparent manner before the community, before the public, and be supportive should we bring a project to this county. So a little bit about Hecate Energy, the company that we work for. Hecate is a leading developer of renewable energy solutions across the country. Hecate has developed over 47 solar projects and energy storage projects exceeding 11.1 gigawatts across the country. These are operated by utilities, financial investors, independent power producers. Hecate's projects total $12 billion in asset value across the country. We maintain ready access to capital needed to carry energy infrastructure projects through the development cycle into construction, into operation. In addition to developing over $3 billion of assets, Hecate has access to more than $1 billion in development capital to get our projects to the rollout. So we're looking at a landscape across the country in which data centers, new manufacturing demand, increased consumer demand are driving an increased need to generate electricity. And that's not uniform, that's not just here, that's across the country. And what we're noticing, and our opinion is that communities who embrace this dynamic will win. It's funny, I walked in the room and said, Coffee County, come explore our energy. I just noticed that when I came in. The communities that are willing to incorporate energy development and smart growth into their future development goals are going to reap benefits for their foresight. That's our opinion. We're in the early stages of developing the Otter Creek Solar Farm. It's a map generally in this area, southwest of the John Redmond Reservoir. We've got a little bit over 8,500 acres that private citizens have volunteered to lease and have agreed to lease land to the project. Not all of that land will be used, but that's about the amount that we have what we call site control over. We're still very early in developing these projects. Prior to counting...
Excuse me, what do you mean by very early? This project you don't think would develop if it goes ahead and approved?
Other than that, we've gotten studies on our land, but we don't even have a rule to follow as far as it goes to permitting in this county. So the path to this project being completed is quite uncertain given the lack of an ordinance here that's in place, right? We're happy to come here, and we're happy to, spend great resources in developing a project here, but we can't spend those resources without an ordinance in place. So we can do our studies, which we have done, and Diane can maybe talk about that here in a second. But we're not in a place where we are investing massive amounts of money and effort and engineering dollars into this project yet because it's unclear. I talked about the interconnect queue position. That process takes multiple years to go through. And we have two different queue positions for what we call the Otter Creek Solar Farm. They're kind of split in half. So there's one that's 1 year ahead of the other, and that allows for a phased approach to construction. And on this one site, what's probably going to happen at the end of the day is there'll be two independently operating phases, or we even call them projects, that share a fence line, right? So once we get through those studies, again, that's probably 2 years away to get the last of those studies done. Then we can start construction, assuming that we have everything else done like a permit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You said 2 phases.
Yeah.
So it'd be 500 megawatts per phase, and that would equal to 1 gigawatt. And I have no idea what that means, but,
Right.
so the 8,500 acres is, you're not planning, say something does go on.
Mm,
So the 8,500 acres is the only project that, I mean, you're not,
we have no plans for other development other than this stuff.
okay,
Right. And, I say it was, 50, 500 for a gigawatt. That's an approximation at this point. We're not even that far along. It could be a little bit smaller, it could be a little bit bigger.
and you said earlier that you had so many solar projects already under your belt,
Mm-hmm.
and that equals to how
12 gigawatts,
How
or
much?
11.1 gigawatts.
11.1 gig, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so 10 times what we're doing. And these projects have gotten larger over time, so I said 47 projects. That would mean the average project that we've done is smaller. That's true. The size of projects that people have been doing in this industry has grown over time. And what's going on now is the biggest developers, the developers who are making, the most projects in this company, tend to go to the 345 kV big transmission lines. It used to be you couldn't do that. It used to be nobody was, making projects big enough for gathering financing large enough to do projects that large. But as the cost of solar has fallen, and as the sophistication of the pool of investors and banks that are willing to look at solar projects has grown, the size of projects has grown along with it. But I wanted to talk a little bit, actually, before we hop, about those queue positions. When we study those projects, we being the Southwest Power Pool, they assume that all generators that are already on are on. And they say, what would we have to do to start a new project, assuming everything that's there is still there? And they say, maybe we have to add a substation here, maybe we have to add a line over here. That means that, for example, a Wolf Creek is locked in before we ever do our study. The assumptions under the studies for us to plug in assume Wolf Creek is on, and other generators. So, point being, we're not competitive in any way with Wolf Creek. We don't, have any negative impact on their operations. We're just separate, okay? In fact, the timeline for our plugging in final commercial operation for the project has to coordinate with Wolf Creek. Because Wolf Creek is a nuclear plant that has special regulations. We have to wait until it's in a regular maintenance outage window in order to plug onto that line. Because our line's running straight from Wolf Creek. Wolf Creek,
Right there.
we're connecting on a line coming right out of Wolf Creek. Point being, those regular outage windows don't happen all that often. They happen every maybe 1.5 years. And if we get delayed, by something going on other than that interconnect, then it can be a big delay. If it's, if it causes us to trip that 1.5 years. Today we're here to introduce this project. That's sort of what I just did. We can get into more details as you all want or as needed. And then also we'll talk about the significant economic impacts that would come from this project, would it come to the county, okay? And those impacts generally fall into 3 categories. There are construction time period impacts. These are mainly jobs, other impacts flowing from people coming into the county to work, like gas stations, restaurants, temporary housing, that kind of stuff. Second category is during operations. You have a smaller amount, because this is a relatively simple thing to operate. You only need maybe 11 employees, but those kinds of jobs and related economic spend. And then third, which is taxes and things that look like taxes. And that's the big one, and the one that the county might care about the most. But
And you're talking, that would be the pilot program, so.
yeah, and
Or-
I don't use the word pilot here, but
Okay.
commonly it'd be called pilot. This is a voluntary donation. We'll start with taxes. So this state has a mandatory 10-year tax abatement on personal property related to solar farms and other renewable energy generators. So by law, there's no personal property tax on those first 10 years. What we do is that voluntary contribution to the county in that time period. We're estimating about $1.5 million a year for that payment to the county, and that is separate from, there's still real property tax issued on the underlying land. So we're calling that about $160,000 a year. That's the first 10 years. Then, after that, in year 11 and on, personal and real property both would be taxed at county rates. We're estimating $7.9 million per year on average when we get to that point. So, and it breaks down across the various mills, right? I get $35 million in payments to the school districts out of that. In years 1 through 10 for the schools, that's the equivalent of 290 laptops a year, so about $53,000. After year 10, it jumps up to $1.72 million per school. And that's about 5% of the school district budget total.
And those numbers, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting.
No, you're okay.
But your numbers are based on the 1 gigawatt.
Correct. That's based on the 1 gigawatt. That's great. Yeah, City of Burlington, $52 million in additional tax over the life of the project. Total tax from the project, I have $177 million across the various mills. When I look at that, one of the things that I think about is, so Wolf Creek pays the great majority of the county's taxes, which is great. That's a wonderful project to have. But what we would provide is redundancy, diversity, a diversified tax base, you know, so that, God forbid, something should happen to your Golden Goose, you're not just totally gone. You've got other energy projects, other, you know, large uses that can buffer, you know, your tax base. This project represents about 6% of the tax base in this county right now for you. So, with that said, I am curious if you all have any questions. I do have really experienced people on anything having to do with the project, permitting, environmental stuff. How does it get built? Whatever you'd like to ask, we've got our people to help answer.
I've got a few questions, and I mean, I'm just, has erosion concerns, runoff, what's the study that you've done for stuff like that? I mean, is there any information that's available on that?
I think both Craig and I can address those questions around stormwater and erosion control. If you look at the last page of the FAQ, I think it's worth noting that everything Gerson just said is in the FAQ document that you have in front of you. Just to kind of help, you know, reinforce the conversation, like the economic benefit numbers that he just relayed are in there, so that you have time to look at those more closely later. But on the last page of the handout I provided to you is a list of studies that we will conduct that we would support any county permit application. And so, you know, to date, we have already done our topographic surveys of the project site, which would form the foundation of the engineering plan. We've also conducted a hydrology study, so a detailed hydrology study that would indicate the amount of inundation that we might see anywhere in the project area, if there's any floodplains in the project area that we would avoid during construction and operation of the project, with the siting of the panels themselves. And then also we would be required to, you know, comply with National Pollution, the NIPSI permit for the project, right? We would prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan, and that would have both the stormwater practices that we would control sediment and erosion control during construction, but also during operation of the project after the site is restored following construction. So we would be required to follow state stormwater standards both during construction and obviously once the project is a permitted facility. So you might see things during construction like standard erosion control that you see for all construction projects, like, you know, silt fences and filter stocks and things like that. But then once the project's operating, it's pretty likely we might have some stormwater retention ponds or some other not as visible green erosion control standards you might see around the project during construction, especially around the substation, because there'll be some gravel there. But underneath the panels themselves, it's gonna be all vegetated, so we don't expect there to be a lot of, impervious surfaces created by the project, except for the access roads that we would construct inside the fences.
After the panels are installed, if you will, everything goes to some sort of vegetation. What kind?
Yeah, that's correct. So, what we typically do is we find a relatively low-growing, pollinator-friendly native seed mix. But it's really flexible what we can do, because a lot of communities have some strong feelings about what kind of, revegetation they'd like to see in and around the fenced-in area. You know, a location like here, we really have to consider fire management, so we might think about what we might do for fire prevention or fire blocking around the outside of perimeter of the fencing. But inside the fence, we would want to put a low-growing native or naturalized seed mix that's, you know, obviously common to this area, so that we could promote, you know, heavy revegetation. And so our standard from a stormwater perspective is that there'd be 80% coverage of vegetation all in and around the fenced-in area. But that can be, you know, a pollinator-friendly species, it can be, you know, just something that doesn't, you know, interfere with the bottom of the fence and doesn't require too frequent of mowing, but, because we do maintain by
You
mowing.
probably wouldn't go back with native grasses.
We could go in with native grasses, but what we would have to do is select
Just make-
species that don't grow too tall too fast.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like your big blue.
Which would not be something to put in this area, because then it's going to transfer to another field, to another field, to another field, possibly,
Yeah.
knock out
That's
the.
why we tend to prefer native or naturalized species to the area. You know, it wouldn't be, you know, picking something that only grows in Pennsylvania, certainly, you know, we would pick something that's native to Kansas.
Underneath the panels, do you ever consider laying a board, I don't know what the right word is, a border down and lay 3-4 inches of rock on it so that you don't have to worry about anything under the panels growing?
Yeah, we would love to do that. I mean, it's really expensive.
So you
The
can do that in place
aggregate-
of native grass or something?
You could, that aggregate's real expensive, but also, you know, that's not really great for local wildlife populations, right? We still-
I understand that side of it too,
Yeah.
but wildlife's important.
Wildlife is important, and we really do, you know, we tend to, create a way that small, critters can still get in and outside of the fence. You know, we're not really looking for, you know, to have any kind of bigger species inside of the fenced-in area, but it's not really great from a stormwater perspective just to put aggregate down, but I've certainly seen projects like, you know, in more rural areas where people did put an aggregate base down just to keep the, you know, mowing to a minimum, but we have such a big footprint here, we wouldn't wanna offset all that vegetation, right? We would want to promote.
And you talked about pollinators, I mean, that would be
Mhm.
something that would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really common approach these
Right,
days,
right.
you know, so selecting seed mixes that are, you know, beneficial to pollinators.
How are these projects funded? What's the funding track of this? Is this private investors? Is this,
Yeah.
I mean,
So Hecate Energy funds the entire development of the project. What's typical for a project of this size, a really large one, is you have a combination of, you know, large private investors that end up owning it. Things like, insurance companies, utilities, large, you know, very conservative investors, and bank debt, and it's called tax equity, which is a federal ITC granted benefit that exists for solar projects in the United States and can be monetized by the company. The company can buy a tax equity from the project. So that's the three. It's, in our case, in this project stage, all private funding, no plans for any public funding at all, and that's how it works.
Who regulates, like nuclear is highly regulated.
Mhm.
So how are you folks regulated? I mean, I'm sure it's not quite as stringent maybe as maybe a little bit. There's got to be regulations somewhere that.
Yeah, there's various entities that form our regulating body, because we're connected to the grid, so we're regulated by local grid policies. You know, because the project doesn't actually have like steam or other things, there's less of a regulating body like NERC or something.
Right.
mean, there are for utility safe regulations, we do fall under NERC in terms of cybersecurity and other things like
Sure.
that. But a lot of our regulations are federal code in terms of pollution prevention, things.
And that falls under
OSHA.
the federal.
Yeah, a lot of the
guidelines.
federal codes. There's not, like, so for background, I'm a lifelong Kansas resident. I worked at Black & Veatch doing conventional generation for 22 years before I started at Hexas. So, in reality, even your conventional gas-fired power plants, they don't have like a body quite like NERC,
Sure.
because nuclear is so specific, it has its own body, but generally, there are industry-wide codes or government federal codes that cover the safe operation of the facility.
And again, I knew the regulations wouldn't be as stringent as like your
Well,
own, but,
yeah, they're still stringent,
but
but
they're,
yeah.
but they're still in place.
Yeah, specifically, I mean, when you get down to brass tacks, we have some major electrical components on site
Sure.
that are, designed for, National Electric Code and IEC standards, per IEEE type design standards. So like, there are a lot of bodies that feed into the safe operation of the plant, and,
Thank you.
So another question I got, let's just say, you got this solar farm going on, and there are these solar panels out there, and gigantic hailstorm come through and destroys the panels, and it rains 12 inches, and is there any liquid inside the panels that leak down and pollute and
Yeah,
contaminate the reservoirs? I mean, there's been a lot of misinformation out there about solar panels as death to everybody, and so I just wanna ask if there's any liquid of
So-
any sort
so I think-
dissolving.
Yeah, so there is no liquid, so there's a couple of things that you bring up a good point. So back in the day, way long ago, the panels were made with cadmium telluride, okay, which had the potential to be toxic, okay, I don't know if there's ever demonstrated a case where it was, but these panels are polysilicon, so they're basically made of sand, and they have glass. So in the case, so what happens in operation, the highest risk portion of the project is during construction, when not everything's operational. Once things are operational, the plant watches weather very closely, okay? And that's a great industry to be in, because like weather forecasting is really important business for something like this. And if a storm is approaching, the panels will go to their maximum tilt angle away from the wind. So when the hail starts coming down, yeah, you may get some glances, but hopefully they're not straight on. If it's flat like this and hitting, it's gonna definitely cause some damage. And there's been projects in construction that have had some significant damage. They're also building them more robustly, the panels, there are new panels coming out that have thicker top glass, other things to help prevent hail damage. But the key issue you asked about is toxicity of the panels. So, the polysilicon panels have been through EPA testing, where what they do essentially is they take the panels and they grind them up into really small pieces, and they put them in a jar and flush it with acid, okay, for 10 hours, shake it up, do everything they can. This is a standard toxicity test that they run for basically any component, okay, and then they flush that all out with water, and they check that water for any toxins, and the panels are not toxic. The only thing that in the panels is there are trace amounts of lead, because when you have the cell modules together, they're soldered together, and that uses a trace amount of lead. Most people are trying to get that out, but still, the average panel has less lead in it than a battery that you're using in your like a AAA battery. So it's very trace amounts, and even that, like, it's just not going to break down and get into your water system. And these panels actually don't really break. Even if the hail hits them, you can go Google it, what happens. They're laminated glass. So basically you have a broken glass panel that's laminated, and you have to replace it. They're not falling apart. You're not gonna have fields strewn with glass at the end of it. You're gonna remove the panels, and you're gonna replace the new one.
The project will carry insurance.
Yeah.
Robust insurance.
Right.
In that case, it's a matter of whether it's insurance or.
So if a tornado comes through and strings these panels for 4 miles in every direction,
Yeah.
you guys are the ones going out there and taking care of that stuff, if something like that should ever happen. I mean, the chances of it happening slim to none.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see a cow out there chewing on a solar panel.
I like to see the wires.
Yeah, I mean, most of these systems are designed for wind speeds in the 120 range. Obviously, if it's running up there higher than that.
That's just a good Kansas day around here.
Some days, yeah.
Some days. Have you guys done any wildlife studies out in that area? You have?
Yeah, we have, we've done a couple of different ones, so we always start with a desktop analysis, we'd always contact, Kansas Wildlife, and then, the, federal agency has a public database called ITAC that we go to just to find out what habitat is present in the project site, then we follow up with field studies, which we've done. So, we did a detailed, ecological survey of all 8,500 acres that we, that study area of all the leased land for the project area, and we've mapped out basically every vegetative community type and habitat type in the project area. So, we don't have, there's no critical habitat in this project area, it's not like Flint Hills and things like that, so, we basically categorize areas that are, have some shrub vegetation or forest vegetation or what might be conducive to house certain or endangered species or be suitable habitat for certain endangered species. And those studies will all form a foundation for what areas the most effective to use and which ones to use where.
So you really haven't gotten any kickback from the Kansas Wildlife
No.
Department or anything like that, which really doesn't surprise me none. Just
I mean,
Oh, but you
those studies
could.
are third
You could.
party also.
Yeah, you could if you have high,
Right.
native, tallgrass prairie, but that condition doesn't exist in this.
Now, we're in a pretty good flyway for geese and ducks in the fall, and I know the Gridley area the last 3 or 4 years, and that's what we're talking about. Their fly, I don't know what the fly pattern, whatever you wanna call it, it's a lot heavier in Gridley than what it is in our Leroy area where I'm from. Do the panels, they do a lot of reflecting, I'm sure. Do they affect that flyway in any way, shape, or form?
I've never heard of any, so the panels do have an anti-reflective coating on them, that reduce glare. There's obviously going to be specific areas where, I mean, just like you take your glasses, you can shine, you can get just right where, but I've never heard of any migratory birds having any issues with it. Cause they're gonna be quite far from the actual panels, themselves, and they're gonna move past that specific area of glare pretty quickly. But there's never been any, that I know of, any field reports of issues.
No, I agree, especially in the eastern US, like it's a more common thing in the desert Southwest when there isn't any other water features, so obviously the reservoir being so nearby, like, they're creatures of habit.
Well, they are, but 10 years ago, there wasn't any Canadian geese staying in our community
Yeah,
year round.
Yeah.
Canadian
okay,
geese
no,
stay in
now
our
you
area
guys have
year
your own
round
geese.
now, and quite a number of them.
What we more commonly see is actually, the use of the project sites after they're constructed by grassland birds. Because, we're basically creating a condition where all of that woody encroachment that you see in other places where the shrubs are coming up and basically converting, the natural succession that happens when shrubs grow where you no longer have maintained grassland. So those aren't preferred fields any longer for grassland birds, but when they see, constructed projects that are full of, vegetation and nice perches to use, we see obviously a lot of, use of the site by grassland birds.
How much of your project spent on landscaping and maintenance?
I think, if I recall right, 2.1 million a year in operational economic impact. Some of that's known, but not all of it.
2.1 million per year is
Yeah.
what your estimate is?
Yeah, that's not just the million, that's for, everybody employed during operations throughout the year.
What about people hired?
About 11 a year.
11 a year.
Martin.
Total?
During operations. During construction, it'll be more like 550, maybe even a little bit more than that. But
So once it's up and running, it's 11 people
yeah.
that handles everything.
It's gonna be somewhere in that range, it's under 20 people, it's not.
Under
more
20 people.
Yeah.
The study here by BBC says 18 direct impact employees, 17 secondary.
There you have
I
it.
don't know exactly what that is, but that's a total of 35 per year, 35 employees on
Yeah.
site.
So that, the direct is that number that Diane just referred to. Yeah, you wanna talk about secondary? I can say.
Yeah, so, I mean, so secondary is gonna be like the mowing people that come in. So they come in, they're obviously not, they're gonna be a specialty person that comes in the mows 2-3 times a year.
They're not full-time.
Yeah, they're not full-time, so.
Yeah, because they're, you know, the average cost is 1.4 million, but 17, you're still looking at quite a few dollars per employee, but
What would
this
be,
study shows 35 employees.
what would be the average pay of the 11 to 19 employees that are there full-time? I'm just a rough
I mean,
estimate.
I would wing the 70,000 a year type of number.
Would you say 70?
70,000.
70?
Yeah, I mean, 'cause you're gonna obviously, I mean, that's kind of the net average, right?
Mhm.
You're gonna have some low-level
Right,
people, and then you'll have your site foreman or whatever who's making, you know, probably over 100, but, you know, the average will probably be in that range, 'cause they're skilled technicians,
Right.
you know, and they're relatively in demand, so.
Yeah, and the types of activities during operations, where you're mowing, you have skilled technicians who are going and checking equipment, making repairs, that kind of thing, security, these are the kinds of roles that you're looking at.
Is there security around that from the day it's started to the day it's
This large one, yeah.
for 20, 30 years, whatever long it is? You got full-time security around it.
Yeah, and, you know, that role might be, that's a role that's gonna know everybody at the project, right? And that's a role that's probably at the, you know, contact for the project, so it's gonna be somebody on site.
And everything's fenced in, so the panel areas themselves are fully secured, and the substation itself is fully secured.
You said the whole area is fenced off?
Mm-hmm. And, well, it'll be cut out by roads, right, so.
Well, I mean, sectional.
Right.
Just like observation, I travel across the country, I work nuclear.
Cool.
I've seen a bunch of these solar cities in North Carolina, and the weeds grow up. Secondary income, sheep farmers, they allow sheep and goat farmers to graze all that grass out from under.
We've seen it, in fact, we've done it on projects in New York.
I've heard sheep, maybe goats, 'cause goats like to climb.
Goats
but
are no good, 'cause they
Yeah.
chew and they climb.
They like to chew and climb. The
Yeah.
sheep,
Yeah,
the
they're-
sheep grazing is
So
clear.
on agrivoltaics, we're very careful about where we introduce that. It's a great idea, but there's a number of things that would really need to happen. So Harrison specifically mentioned New York, where he and I are both working on a project that's gonna integrate sheep grazing. There's a local, there are local farmers that currently have flocks of sheep. There's enough water up there for the sheep. There's just the right type of climate. There's a local place to overwinter the sheep. That may or may not be present here. So we're hesitant to come in early in a project before this issue has been studied and say, we're committed to grazing sheep on a site. Like, it's a really great concept. We would really love to integrate co-uses, especially agricultural co-uses, but we would never commit to it until we did a study and determined that this is the right site for it, because we obviously didn't want failure on this topic. So I just wanted to say that Hecate as a company is committed to investigating that, but we would never be able to commit to something this early in the review process or something like that.
Right.
So one question I had, which we kinda had this issue with the wind farm, and you can either say yay or nay. Would you guys bond a decommissioning, plan or finance prior to the construction, like upfront for a
Absolutely.
decommissioning?
Yep.
Minus your recyclables or whatever you wanna call that.
Yeah, depending on what state you're in, it's become somewhere between, happening often and absolutely every single time that you'll have a decommissioning bond posted that's sufficient for taking down the entire project, and it's posted and remains at the county or at whichever governing body for the entire project.
Would you guys wanna do a bond, or could you do a,
You can do LC bonds, you know,
Either of those comments.
yeah.
I don't really care for the bonds. I'd much rather do like a, escrow.
I mean, the form of it is easy to work out, you know, but we've typically done letters of credit and bonds. Have we done an escrow?
I mean, 'cause that's time and cash.
Yeah.
But the LLC is the same as cash, so I think what,
And then typically there'd be a performance standard, like if the project were not operating for a year, because what I see from folks like you, they're mostly concerned with is, okay, what if Shakopee, goes belly up and the project stops operating and nobody takes care of it, which would never happen because it's such an invested resource. But, if it were not operating, and we're just sitting there unmowed, unmaintained, and not cared for a year, then that would be a triggering event for decommissioning. So it wouldn't be only applicable at the end of the useful life of the project, it could have some performance standards, intermediate.
I got a question, another question. Are you guys gonna use, battery storage, the big ones that look like semi-trailers?
We will not. This project does not contemplate any energy storage. It's just solar.
How do you arrive, we've been talking about decommissioning, so I'll take one more step.
Sure.
30 years from now, how do we arrive at a value that will take care of everything?
So
Decommission in 30 years, because none of us gonna be here.
Yeah.
We need to protect this for our county.
Typically what you do is you have that bond posted at, today, not today, but at the beginning of the, construction of the project, and then it triggers a re-up every few years. You have to look and make sure where's inflation at, does this bond amount still make sense, should it go up some, should it go down some, and you do that regularly throughout the project.
Yeah, we commonly see something where, like, I'm thinking of a project that we just finished the decommissioning bond on. It's a 500 megawatt project also, and, after 1 year, after the first year, after the project is constructed, there'll be a reevaluation at that time, and then it's every 5 years over the life of the project.
Every 5 years it is
Reassess,
Right.
for the cost to do the decommissioning minus salvage value or recycling.
Right.
There won't be any of us here at that time, there might be some of you, but how do we
Probably
put,
not me.
now, forgot just exactly how to word it, but this will all be put in writing prior to installation of anything
Right.
on site.
So, I was just thinking about this, the best way to make sure of that is making sure your ordinance has a permit requirement for decommissioning. You lay it out in the ordinance, and it's there, and we must comply, and if we fail to comply, we have no permit anymore. That's the best way to ensure it.
yeah, and from my perspective, like, as a construction guy, I like these projects because they're really easy to decommission. Like, the only foundation or the only real concrete on the site is usually in the substation. All these posts that are embedded are just driven in the ground. So you just come by with an excavator, click, 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 and it goes on a cart, the recycling guys are gonna take it, all that steel, and what you're left with is what you came for. Like, it's ground, it's still got topsoil because you're used to vegetation, they're nice and they're easy and they're clean and to decommission.
So I don't have a concrete contractor.
What? Well, the foundation, the substation.
Sorry, some of the rumors around is I'm a concrete contractor and I have a contract with you guys already, He's got that contract, he's off.
Money passing right under the desk, right now.
All the time.
All I got to say is show me the contract, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, to be clear, we don't.
$70,000 to mow, so I have to buy my own mowers.
Go ahead.
I do got, a lot of what I hear is the setback. Now, the best way I can describe it is you have an 80 acres that you're gonna use. And there's a road over here and a road here, and the rest is somebody else's field that you don't have permission.
Right.
How does that work out for you?
So, let's see, on this area.
I don't know quite how to word it. Okay.
8 acre square?
Anyway, I mean, do you have anywhere, again, a lot of what I'm hearing is people, these are gonna be so close to the road, that's all you're gonna see, yada, yada, yada.
Okay, so on setbacks, there's a few different kinds. We typically see from, setback from an adjacent property, so parcel line, you know, where the adjacent property is not part of the project, that one has a setback. And I'll talk about amounts in just a second. Then right-of-way, you know, road, setting back from the edge of the right-of-way on the road. And then the third is non-residential, or non-participating residential structures, which is basically neighbors' houses, neighbors who aren't a part of the project. And on those non-participating houses, that's normally the largest setback. On a recent project that we've worked on, it was 200 feet.
250, you said?
250.
Okay.
That's among the larger I've seen. And we're happy to accommodate, you know, setbacks from non-participating, residences. In fact, those are the kinds of groups that we want to talk to, because we also want to help with landscaping. You know, if they don't want to see anything, we can add vegetative screening. If they want a particular kind, or they like seeing it, but they still want, you know, this particular tree that they like, we like to work individually with neighbors on stuff like that, and make the project a good neighbor. That's what we want to do. So we're happy to do that. Back to our road and parcel line setback. So what we typically see is something around 75 feet. We've seen higher than that, we've seen lower than that. I think, is it Lyon County? Lyon County is 40 feet.
Like Lyon and Franklin counties, 35, 40 feet?
Yeah.
Something
I think
like
it's
that.
40, right? Yeah.
I think it's 40.
Yeah, Franklin's 40. But I've seen 100 feet. We're gonna accommodate, should we have an ordinance that has reasonable setbacks, we'll accommodate what those setbacks are, and we'll try to design a project that can, you know, work within those bounds. What was in the ordinance that was drafted was, what, 1250 or 1300, something like that?
1300. Quarter mile.
Yeah, that we can't do. That kills the project.
So I work in all the states, California, Ohio, New York, some of the tougher jurisdictions, because they're all regulated by the state. So the counties don't get to make decisions, the state makes the decision. And so the permit application processes are just more arduous, and the setback requirements are of the higher that I see from all the counties that we work in. So if you use New York as an example, which we've just recently gotten a project approved there that's about the same size as this project, those setbacks are 50 feet from property lines and 250 from non-participating residences. So that's really kind of the, you know, Cadillac of setbacks.
Yeah.
And then when we think about where we would site actual vegetation screening, that's based on a study that we'll do. I kind of describe it a little bit in the FAQ handout to you, but we'd actually do a viewshed analysis where we say, okay, off-site resident, we don't want to impact you. We'll see how much intervening vegetation is already around their house. And when we do a landscape plan, we'll consider the existing views into the proposed facility, or we'll consider that in our layout. So that area between the road and between the panels, there would be vegetation and fencing. So that's located within that setback that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But that vegetation you're gonna grow there, or it'll take 10 years for it to grow to not see the panels.
Yeah,
And that's what those people want to do, or else put a 15-foot berm.
So, we have used berms in the past, and what they do is lead to vegetation failure, because they don't, that artificially, you know, stockpiled topsoil doesn't lead to like kind of natural vegetation free establishment. So, I would recommend against berms, just because it doesn't promote healthy landscaping.
Where you gonna get the dirt from?
Yeah, I mean, that's another great.
Dig your small pond there.
We do have to stockpile some topsoil though, because, especially if you're in an agricultural field, we'll strip some of the topsoil just to create our, access roads, and we'll reserve that topsoil for decommission to spread around later. But not so much that you would just create all these artificial berms all around the project area. We want to look as natural as possible, so. But on the landscaping, usually the landscape selection that we pick will be a mix of coniferous and deciduous trees and shrubs. So it won't be just uniform trees that get planted. There'll be a landscaping module that will select the species that are common to here that don't have a lot of wildlife browse and things like that. Like, we're thoughtful about the vegetation screen plan that we'll put forward.
Yeah, and typically the goal is not to make invisible the project,
Right.
it's to break up the monotony of the.
And soften views from residential,
Yeah.
from home.
If somebody's living right next to it and they want it to be invisible, that kind of thing, from their house, that'd be great too. But don't typically just run a
Perimeter.
wall.
Wall of
project.
I have another question, how does your equipment stand up to pasture fires? You know what a pasture fire is?
Yeah. So,
Because, we're in Tornado Alley, but we have more pasture fires here every year. So how would you think that would stand up to a grass fire rolling through underneath your panels?
yeah, the first place starting here is before we ever construct something in the permitting phase, once there's rules established, we'll coordinate with the fire department and get y'all's local advice on how should we design a fire safety plan here? Because we want, fire breaks, for example, on the perimeter. We want a protocol that happens if, somebody, as it happens, some ranchers are out there, call, hey, there's something starting up, we'll take care of it.
I'm a former fire chief.
Yeah. We wanna know, honestly, we wanna know how y'all do it, we wanna learn from y'all, and we wanna set it up such that the fire risk is mitigated down as little as it can go before any fire ever gets onto our site, and should fire get onto the site, it's a ticket of Greg, so.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, the fires aren't gonna melt the panels,
No, but your electric wires
Yeah,
and
so-
insulators on them.
Yeah, so all of our high voltage lines vary.
But the problem is fighting the fire within that field. I mean, we're not gonna be able to trust that those are gonna be driving lines. I think that's where you.
Once the fire hits your fence and goes through the fence, the fire department won't, their equipment is not small enough to go between all your panels.
That's where we're driving.
So your equipment will be exposed to high heat for a short period of time as the fire rolls through the.
Yeah, so I mean, normally, when we have developed the layout, we have roads in between the blocks,
Okay.
which will act as a natural fire break. So something- And those roads will be designed such that the fire equipment could get to those locations. Obviously, they're not getting in between the roads, but if they could set up and spray that area. You're right, the DC cable that comes out of the back of the panel, it could be susceptible to fire issues. It's easily replaced in the end. If the fire's really big, you have inverters, you have other things that could be susceptible. I mean, it's just like any house, like a house. I mean, there are always these risks, but we will work as much as we can to that.
You've got, this is all that subject, but you've got 8,500 acres of leased ground.
Yeah.
So to build this 1 gigawatt solar farm, how many acres, I mean, are you looking at 4,000 to 5,000 acres then under panels? I mean, roughly?
About the range,
I think that'd be about the correct range.
Yeah.
We just did another 500 megawatt project together that's, in the 2,500 acre range.
Yeah.
But they're all different because it depends on how contiguous we can make the panel configuration, but that'd be about what we'd be looking at.
Yeah, and the technology is evolving so quickly. Like, when I started Techie, we were looking at 350 megawatt panels, or 350 kilowatt panels. Now we're at panels that are 650. They're slightly larger, but not that much larger. So like, when we do this layout, that we keep shrinking down that.
And quite honestly, where I stand, I'm not against solar at all.
Mm-hmm.
The size of the project concerns me. It just does. That's a large project. Is it not? I mean, that's.
Yeah,
that's
so Wolf Creek actually has about 9,000 acres.
Well, actually, they've got 11 to 12,000 acres that they purchased in 74 and 75 and 76. I think roughly 8,500 acres of it is under water or what. I think, I may be wrong, but I think that's about what it is.
Yeah.
But by the same token, Wolf Creek employs
800.
lots of people, and I'm not putting down solar. But those are some of my concerns.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that this county, and I'll never speak for you, but just as I've driven here, there's at least 4 different kinds of energy, you know, infrastructure in the county already. There's a lot of ONG, oil and gas exploration here. There's wind, there's nuclear, and there's, and transmission, yeah. So it seems a consistent use in my eyes, and, yeah, I don't know, we'd be happy to be a part of it, that's all I know.
I just wanted you to know who I stood,
Okay.
that's the concern I have, is that larger project. Which, I understand as far as the business model, I mean, that would be the best project for you folks. I do understand that.
There's more than one way to look at it too. So let's say that you're powering a given population using as little impact to residents as possible. So you have a certain amount of energy you need to power solar. Should you do that with 100 1-megawatt projects or 1 100-megawatt project? If you do it with the 100 1-megawatt project, it'll disperse itself around whatever geographic area it is, and you'll have a lot of people and a lot of places that are impacted by that. If you do one large project, by its nature, it will have one perimeter, and that's the area where impact is going to occur. So it's my philosophy that these large projects are the way to have the lowest impact associated with it.
And I don't disagree with that, I don't, but you're going to be generating basically the same amount that Wolf Creek's generating right now. I mean, maybe a little bit under, but pretty darn close.
Yeah.
And
The capacity factor is different.
Yeah.
The capacity, Wolf Creek is 99%, and we're gonna be lower than that, but in
Right.
terms of total peak power, yeah.
Right. Another concern is we don't wanna jeopardize Wolf Creek as far as,
Yeah, like I said, they're in-competitive. They do not compete with one another in any way. When we're studied by Southwest Power Pool, an independent system operator to the grid, they must and they do assume that Wolf Creek, as well as every other generator, is on when they study whether we can do that. They have to do that.
I'm sorry.
So when the independent system operator who's responsible for the grid and its safety and reliability, they study our project and say, you know, what do you need to get onto the grid? And when they do that study, they study it with Wolf Creek on, they study it with every other electric generation on that's already existing. So they can't say you're allowed on, but only if you shut off somebody else. They have to say, you're allowed on, so is everybody else if you do.
We are not allowed to impact Wolf Creek.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not even allowed to interconnect to the grid unless Wolf Creek's down for regular maintenance. We have to bend the knee to Wolf Creek everywhere.
But also on the same side though, the cheaper the power goes out first.
Mm-hmm.
And if Wolf Creek is a higher per kilowatt, then they're brought back and the cheaper power goes down the line prior to.
They're on all the time.
Well, I know they're on, but they might be operating at 75% because.
Wolf Creek runs at 100%. It puts out 1,200 million watts of electricity every hour. It's a baseline, it holds the grid. Somewhere there's a guy in a control room, he knows Wolf Creek is loading. These people he can add these people like 3 o'clock in the afternoon when lots of people, are turning the air conditioner on. He can bring these in to keep the grid stable. The grid operates between this voltage and this voltage. If it starts dropping, he can bring this guy in this control room somewhere and bring it in other plants. Oil fire plants, gas turbines, they sit idle all day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on hot summer days. You'll hear them start up because the grid level is floating. So this is kind of how everything works off the entire grid. There's some guys in a control room controlling how much electricity Ion supplying here to there. Wolf Creek supplies 15% of the Kansas City's metropolitan load and 100% of Wichita's. And then there's all the branches that pop off of the substations.
The grid up above is something that is mind blowing of what the grid looks like, and I don't even have a clue.
Amazing. At any moment, the amount of energy being made on the grid and being consumed is equal, at any day or night. Pretty amazing.
When the CFO met with us 3 weeks ago, plus 2 other key employees, that day they were operating at 70%. Nuclear plant was operating at 70.
Where's that?
Here,
Wolf Creek.
They were probably
Operating at 70%.
down powering to do some kind of maintenance, not to hold them load.
I don't know. They
Yeah,
told us that-
but Wolf Creek is a low cost of entry
Yeah.
power, like, they will, and they have a priority queue position. You know, if they're operating at 70%, it's because there's just nothing out there, like, we're not in reality going to significantly impact their output any more than any other person. You know, because that project is fully amortized, their fuel costs are very low, you know, I don't know what their dollar cost entry is, but it's probably cheaper than ours to start with right now, because they just make up whatever number they want,
You know,
because it's all paid for.
as fast as all these, industries are moving forward, what happens in 10 years when the panels you've got need to be replaced because of economics?
So these panels are
Is that
warranted.
in your plan, or can that happen?
It can happen, actually, yeah, so first off, these panels carry a warranty of normally 25 to 30 years. So the plan A would be to use them that long. You're right, panel costs have dropped significantly, and there could be a scenario in the future, 10, 15, 20 years.
If you get to where they're not efficient, you need to shut it down, replace it.
Well, yeah, you could go buy new panels, pop the old ones off, pop new ones on. However, if they start getting, inefficient, they tend to degrade at about 0.5% a year in terms of efficiency. So if you get out to that point where you've already got that degradation plan, so if you get out to a point where they're down to 80% of what they originally did 30 years from now.
Yeah, that'd take 40 years to get down to 80, so that 0.5%.
Yeah.
Where the panels made?
It depends, they're all over the planet now. There's been federal, stimulus money trying to repatriate the manufacturing for solar panels. We're still so far out on this one, nobody knows.
How do you choose?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
the China, obviously, China comes into question and.
That makes a lot of
the
sense.
tariffs associated with Chinese power and making panels right now make them pretty unattractive. There's a lot of Southeast Asia, Thailand, Korea, but the IRA Act, like Aaron mentioned, is really stimulating domestic growth, and we love that ability if it can make it. So right now, like, the US is gonna put 50 gigs of solar in, and it's about 5 gigs worth of US production, which is not very much, like, but I think it's going to come quicker, because it's not, honestly, they're not hard things to make, it's a highly automated process. It's more about getting the technology into it.
Right here, it stated in here, when Wolf Creek was here, they said, we're at 100% power now, and we're almost always at 100%. Occasionally, and we call on a daily basis around midday and figure out what tomorrow's projection is. Occasionally, we will back down around midnight to 70%. Typically, for a couple of days, and then it really doesn't go on. So, the day that they was here, they was at 100% power.
I thought he said 70, but I could be
Well,
wrong.
he said occasionally,
Okay.
we will, and this is the transcript of the meeting that Wade had put together.
And that sounds like a demand response.
Right. And
Spring and fall.
Yeah, spring and fall.
Yeah, so, I just wanted to clear it,
Okay,
so,
so I was incorrect on that statement.
took me a little
A
reviewing.
little while to find it.
I've got
For
a
meeting minutes.
couple of questions,
Sure.
if that's okay.
Go for it.
so you mentioned early on the voluntary donation pilot, whichever one you wanna call it, and the number you stated was 1.5 million per year. Where does that, if you're on the same grid capacity level as Wolf Creek, and Wolf Creek is paying for the lion's share of the tax base for the county, where does the 1.5 million come from? And at the stage when that voluntary donation is, I guess, being discussed, is it something that can be negotiated?
We would have to think about it. That number comes from what we understand to be typical for renewable energy projects in the state that make a contribution to the county, kind of on a per megawatt basis. So we understand that voluntary contribution to be something that's kind of industry standard at this point for the end, and just following at least.
But that would still be negotiated with the county, correct?
Could be.
I mean, yeah,
It's in the BBC status,
yeah, I know, but that's based on
It's
that.
so much per kilowatt.
But that's based on that 8,500 acre lease zone.
It's based on the per megawatt
Right,
side
megawatt,
of those contributions that we typically made in the state of Kansas.
There's been a lot of counties that's outspoken and said we don't want it, period. So I think the counties that are getting more willing to have it in their county is getting less and less. Therefore, it might increase the donation in the first 10 years, possibly. I don't know. Go ahead, Wade.
I was just curious because I've been looking at pilot agreements, as a request of this board. And I just didn't know where that number came from. One thing that also, at some point in time, I think somebody mentioned, that maybe you did it or somebody else, that after the construction would be completed and operation occurs, is the sale of the entire 8,500 acres or whatever it would be to another company, and what would that look like? I know initially Hecate would be involved until that point. What would that look like, the transition, and how would that impact the county, if at all?
Happy to discuss. So by the time operation occurs, the legal structural contract that governs the operation of the project will be fully set in stone, set in contract. So that includes agreements with landowners for, leases, and in some instances where there's a substation even purchased. And for the county, it's the permit or any other agreement entered into between the project and the county. The permit is the number one place where requirements from the county are locked in with the project. Other requirements, contractual obligations could be entered into between the project and other entities. All contractual obligations, all of them, were the project to be transferred in ownership to a long-term owner, would go with all contractual obligations.
Because Hecate is a developer, correct?
Correct.
So once you're done with the project, then your goal is to sell that to someone.
That's sort of our business model, is how we do it.
Right.
But we're not speculative.
Right.
No, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
I wasn't alluding to that. But you're the developer, and then from there, you would sell to
Someone who operates the asset.
partner.
Yeah.
Partner with a long-term
Right.
owner who's gonna operate the asset as it exists through its operational life, based on the requirements set out in the permit, based on any other contract that we entered in.
They accept everything.
They accept everything.
And you'd be out
At that point, yeah.
at that point, right?
So we've done it different ways too. We can sell it right at, when we turn the keys over and it's an operational project. We can also, sell before construction begins. Those are the two typical moments in time. Sometimes the long-term owner wants to be responsible for construction, sometimes they don't.
What type of owner normally buys?
Utilities, large insurance companies that like very conservative, investments. These are, the kind of investment that you look at here is, for a project of this size, likely close to $1 billion put up front for construction and so forth. And then it just sits there generating revenue, you know, soaking in the sun, as it were, for the next several decades. So it's really low risk to operate and high cost to install. And so somebody who's got a lot of money, but really averse to risk.
No foreign investors, to your knowledge?
Typically, no. I mean, I don't think there's any rules against it, but you'd have to go through the federal government.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we don't, to be frank, like, we do see some European companies as part of the consortium. Some Asian companies, although typically not China, are typically not owners in the project. But yeah, it's not. I mean, we normally sell to U.S. companies like, I don't know if I can name, like, other, like, utility scale owner-operators of solar facilities that are U.S. based. So that's who we normally market.
Energy,
You know, Delta, Shaw, Renewable Energy, Greenback Energy. You know, those, you know, and
Los Angeles Department of Water.
yeah, I mean, they are essentially funds that will develop a fund to go buy projects and then they'll own and operate it.
Yeah. A common concern is Chinese ownership of things. We have, at one point, I remember, you know, did a deal with somebody who had some partial Chinese ownership, and we do go through a CFIUS review to sell projects. It got knocked down in the CFIUS review. The federal government really doesn't like selling stuff to.
Which is good.
Yeah.
It's one good thing they're doing.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Did you not say that?
Do you currently have any other solar projects in the state of Kansas that the commissioners could reach out to those counties?
I don't in Kansas, but I do, we've got contacts that you could reach out to. Was it Brewster in Texas? And Brewster in Texas, and then, I mean, I'd be happy to give you people's numbers and other kind of.
We'd be happy to provide some additional contacts for you guys.
That's not a question I have, is if you could supply some reference.
Yeah.
And going to that, you had a project that you were proposing in Butler County, I think.
Butler, that's the one I was thinking of, yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know how long ago I don't know if that's been a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever, but why did you, if I remember right, it wasn't as large as this project, maybe it was half again, but what was the reasoning for, I assume that their commissioners were going through the same thing that we are, but what was the main reason why you pulled out of
They have
that?
a unique difference.
Was that because of the Flint Hill?
Yeah, that presence of that rare ecological community being in their county and taking up so much of their county was really the deciding factor for them.
Yeah.
You know, it really had to do with habitat.
Okay. I assume that that's what it would be, but,
I
and I'm
could,
not
we
sure
could
if they
still
could have,
propose a project in Butler County. We could still go propose a project in Butler County, but it would have to avoid this particular location.
and it would be
And we
somewhat,
didn't have land permission anywhere else. It happened to be the land that we had a lease for contained that habitat. We didn't have other
Sure.
land we could go propose. Yeah, it was unfortunate for that landowner.
no, and I know it is, I was just curious if that's why you pulled out. And I don't think that they put a ban on, I think they put a memorandum on moratorium. Oh, I'm sorry,
It's a permitted activity in Butler County as long as it avoids this little area. It's not a small area, as long as it avoids this particular type of habitat. So we could still go and apply for a project there, but we don't presently have land outside of that special habitat. So that critical habitat doesn't occur in the 8,000 acres we're looking at. It was the first thing we looked at when we got here. We were there looking.
Was it the green-eared frog? No, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
It could be a little animal.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know.
Wade?
I guess the last thing is you mentioned the project, and if I counted the number of times projects been mentioned, I probably would have lost count, but as far as the county goes, there's not a project. You guys, Hecate has a project, but there's nothing, there's no rules in place to bring before the county to initiate an actual county project approval.
That's correct. In fact, we have no business before the commission or before the county at all right now. We just came here because we thought we might as well introduce our project and talk about what benefits it might have should it ever, come into existence. For now, it is, something we would like to do and nothing beyond that.
And if that day does come, you will have to go before
That's correct.
the planning and zoning.
We would have to develop a compliant application, submit the compliant application, and then go before planning and zoning, and then go before the commissioners and receive approval for our project, for a special use permit.
And until then, it's an idea or outside of getting landowners and leases in place.
Correct.
You're going through what I'll call a pre-planning phase.
Yes.
For what your internal project is, but there's nothing outside of that that's going on that you're not in the darkness at night putting structures up and that type of thing.
Absolutely not.
This may not be a fair question, Harrison, but with 8,500 acres technically is already leased?
No, technically it's under, an agreement by which we can lease it when and if we.
When and if.
Correct.
How does this is the first time you've been in front of our commission, and I don't think any of your firms been in front of the planning board, and our planning directors here is Heidi. But,
Yeah, we have.
you have?
Yes.
And, okay, sorry to correct that again, but, well, once again, I lost where I was headed to. But how did the proposed 8,500 acres, isn't under lease yet, how did it get that far without, coming before the planning board or the commission?
So
And I'm
this
not
is a
trying to be
good question.
critical, but it seemed like a lot of stuff has already happened.
Yeah, so what our perspective and what we have been advised actually to do is to let the county ordinance process play out and let the county take its time developing its own ordinance and then start talking to people once an ordinance is in place. And so that was the respect for the county's process that we wanted to have, was to leave this commission to its business until there was a set of rules that we could comply with or try to comply with. It became clear that, the commission would like to hear from us, and that's why we're here right now, because we took note of that, and we want to be as available as y'all want us to be, and, we don't necessarily have to have a project here, but I wanna at least have respect for the community regardless of what happens.
Could I get some clarification? There's no leases that have been
Correct.
drawn up between landowners and no payments?
There's no active leases.
Be made, and there's been no, non-disclosures that may agree.
So there are agreements between landowners and the project. They have been made, there's no lease that's been entered into.
And there's no money that's gone from Hecate to landowners.
We've paid landowners stuff, yeah.
But you're saying there's no leases?
Correct, there's no lease.
I don't understand if there's a contractual agreement between you guys and the plan,
Correct.
but there's no lease.
Correct.
So you're just throwing money out.
No, it's an agreement that says, should we want to start a lease at some point in time during the term of an agreement, then we can start that lease.
It's no different than when gas people or oil people they come in and, for the lack of a better term, lease.
Tie up.
Do what?
Tie up.
Well, tie up so many acres.
Yeah.
That's what you've done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all gas or oil or whatever.
So it's not construction, contractual.
No, it's
If
not.
anybody wants out of it right now, they can just say, nope, I'm done.
No, it's a contract. It's a contract, it's called an option contract, and the option is called an option because we have the option, not the requirement, to start a lease when we.
Because you've got to have, in order to do a project, you've got to have so many acres tied up to do that particular project.
Right.
And that's all it is.
That's right.
It's no
We have
different
to-
than a gas company coming in, or an oil company coming in, and my folks, for instance, had a section of ground, and every few years, they would lease, or they would tie up that ground to an oil company for $10 an acre
Yeah.
for 3 years.
Yeah.
Did anything ever happen? No, but the folks got so many dollars off, and that's, I assume that that's what this is.
Yep, same structure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, right, yeah, well, I guess that's all I was saying.
So Harrison is, just to clear up some of the horrible misinformation that's been thrown out there, solar cannot do eminent domain, is that
No,
correct?
no, we are a private company. Hecate Energy is a private company. We lack the right of eminent domain. We may not, cannot, and do not do eminent domain.
I just wanted to clarify.
And that was something else.
Yeah, utilities can, we are not a utility, we are a private company.
When Wolf Creek came in, they did.
Yeah.
That was part of the problem, but they did.
The line that we're attaching to is
Wolf
on
Creek was
site,
federal.
and so
Wolf Creek was federal, that's
the
correct.
line that we have signed up to lease is covering where the power lines that we wanna hook up to. So we wouldn't be running any power line at distance, we'd just be interconnecting right upon the site.
Yeah, we wouldn't be building any overhead line.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Commission have any more questions for Hecate?
Hey, Jeff, you have one other question. Can you make that, environmental impact study public? I think I might have done that.
So, we haven't written like an environmental impact study.
Well, whatever results.
What we really would like to do is apply publicly to you know, to a public permitting process where we would provide all the documents that are requested in the ordinance, and we would publish that on our website. I kind of mentioned that at the bottom of the FAQ, the list of studies we would expect to prepare and where we would publish it, if we were given the opportunity to apply
And
for a
that's,
permit.
and that's if you were to, go to the process of,
Applying for a permit.
applying, that's
Correct.
when that would come in.
Right, and
Correct.
not before that, because again, we don't know what's required yet.
Sure.
So we would do the studies, you know, that are necessary to apply for a permit based on an ordinance that is not a draft, but a finished ordinance. And should that ordinance allow for our use, and we can put a complying application on, that's part of the application.
Right, we, you know, welcome very much a transparent permitting process where we would share all the documents,
Yeah.
But not before.
but not before.
Right.
Don't blame you.
Just a couple things for me to follow up, Harrison.
Sure.
References for the project, can you I think you made a comment.
Yeah.
You could supply 2 or 3 references for the places you've already constructed, so that we can
Absolutely.
evaluate, you know, the quality of work you do,
Absolutely.
everything. I know I've been involved in some businesses. We always like to, and this is a private business that I understand it, we kind of always like to look at 3 years' history, the audit report, to see the strength of the business that's gonna be doing the project.
Mhm.
Is there audit reports for 3 years that would, so we could evaluate the strength of your operation?
So,
And I'm not saying you're weak, don't misunderstand, but we wanna make sure.
we can provide financial quality. I've never been asked for a financial statement, but I'll go back and, you know, see what that is.
Well, I would need a book that's got 100 pages in it.
Yeah.
You know, basically, if you got about 4 or 5 pages, statement of operation. Well, the main thing is you got the audit report.
Sure, we
The
can.
main thing is you got the audit report, what's unqualified opinion.
Yeah, we can
Where you got the
definitely,
new gap rules.
yeah,
Those are the things that are important, because they're stating the quality, basically stating the quality of your,
yeah, I
statement.
mean, I'm sure we can include stuff like that in the application, absolutely.
And that's not, once again, not the kind of question.
No,
You know, there's been a lot of questions here today, Harrison, but I think it's been, to me, it's been a huge dialogue between basically 2 businesses.
Hmm.
This is basically a business to me.
Um,
Or individual
I'm happy to
corporations,
talk,
but
I
to me, I look at it as a business.
yeah,
Because we're here working together for the betterment across the county.
yeah, that makes sense.
No, we feel that way too.
I'm sorry?
We feel that way too.
Okay, that's the way, yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
And a lot of the questions make you feel negative,
No,
so we're,
I'm
don't intend for it to be that.
I think you got something?
Don't make it easy. I like,
It's okay.
I like solar, wind, hydro, gas turbine, I like them all.
Good.
Make them lights turn on.
Yeah, I like air conditioning.
I think you got something?
Clarification.
Sure.
For counties, it's not ordinance, this is under regulation for a resolution.
Okay.
Ordinances are city, so I just wanted to clarify that, because the general public, when you say ordinance, they may not know that that's actually by resolution, county resolution, and then it becomes regulations for counties.
Works for me.
Cities are your ordinances, I just wanted to clarify, just to make it a little, easier to understand why later on.
At this point in time, it really doesn't matter,
Anyway.
because we don't have anything, so.
Yeah.
Any regulatory framework, that's what we're looking for.
Regulatory framework.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll fix that, regulatory framework.
Okay.
And I just need more I needed more time to do discovery, and this is part of it. I mean, we hadn't met with you. When you had your, meeting at the,
Our open house.
open house at South Park.
Mhm.
But this is the first time that we've been able to visit with you on one-to-one.
Yeah.
And that's part of the discovery. I mean, we don't wanna jump into something that's going to hurt Talbot County in the years to come.
Understood, doing your job.
Anybody else have anything, commission?
Good, we appreciate your time.
Harrison, y'all, thank you for your time,
Indeed.
Have,
and,
have a safe trip back home, I don't, some of it came from far away, maybe all of it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
appreciate the information, and as you know, it's all on YouTube, so this evening,
Indeed.
it'll hit YouTube World. Everybody can,
Yeah, you're on the camera, there's
yeah,
no question.
everybody can say what they want to.
Mark's got a lot to write in paper.
Yeah,
Bye. Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right,
So-
well, appreciate it, we're
appreciate
gonna get out of
your,
your hair.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Hey, okay.
Harrison, Tiny Jackson.
He got his.
We're gonna call you, well,
Tiny not so funny.
I work oil, gas, nuclear, hydro.
Yes, we need a break.
Work on
Yes,
it.
yeah, we do. We're gonna take a 10-minute break, we'll be back at 12:18. We can do lunch, you wanna do lunch?
I don't know how much we're done though.
I know Wade's got quite a little bit.
If we does, we can take lunch, it makes no difference.
You wanna take a lunch?
Oh, I know, he's got something, we
Yep, we've got several things to do. Let's just, turn that back on. Thank you.
We'll come back at 1.
We're gonna recess till 1 o'clock for lunch. We all,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's probably a good thing to do.
Yep. You need to get up and move around too. I need to get up and move around too. Angie needs to get up and move around.